I just started this new tradition, Scott, where we start every show with a shot of whiskey.
Oh, yeah?
Are you interested?
Okay. We can try it.
I don't think Sam's interested.
Yeah.
He's going to make that sound every day.
When I do shots of whiskey, yeah, usually it's difficult. Sometimes I just puke right then and there. So just be forewarned, okay? If this is
so Wild Turkey might be a bad.
God. Jeez.
Yeah, that's a
Right
horrible choice.
I picked that one.
Okay, Box, fine. But last time we drank, these are like
No, I'm not going to do it as much.
massive ass shot glasses. And last time he like filled it to the brim. It's Sunday morning. He's like, here you go, have a shot.
I better have like a quarter or a half of that.
Just be a baby.
I better have a chaser too. That's not whiskey.
I
have some Sprite sitting over here if that works for you.
there you go.
You bet.
There you go. So what made you, why do you have Wild Turkey anyways?
It's one of our whiskeys.
It looks like we've drank an awful lot of it.
No, we haven't.
The neck is empty, but that's just from what you just poured.
All right. Well, I guess we'll just roll with it.
I mean, it is Tuesday night.
At least it's not Sunday morning, so we got that going for us.
It's women's golf league. Somebody's getting drunk somewhere.
That's right. Well, so are we, so that's all right.
I haven't drank out of that yet, so.
All right. Well, I guess cheers.
Cheers.
Can't reach you, but
Still living free and
that's right.
yeah, that's exactly how I remember it.
Delicious.
Oh, baby.
Wow.
I wasn't half bad, actually.
No,
Better than I
it's not
remember.
horrible. It's not horrible.
As he sits up nice and tall in his chair.
Yeah,
that's the exact reason.
Swallowing a lot.
Your mouth is watering a little
just
bit.
Watered away, yeah.
That's the whole reason I wanted to start doing taking shots at the beginning of every show, kind of get the energy up and get you going.
Plus, it makes you more tolerant of it, so you don't look like a pussy on
Yeah, exactly.
Thursday Night Golf League when everybody starts to do Wild Turkey 101 shots. I haven't been there for that yet, but if it ever happens,
See, we're doing you a favor here.
we're going to be ready.
Well, there you go. Hell yeah.
Be ready.
All right, guys. So if you notice another voice on the podcast, obviously we got the usuals, myself, Sam, and Box, but then we're actually joined by Scott over there right across from me. Scott, welcome to the show. Thanks for being on.
Thanks, guys. Good to be here. Good to be here.
He is a pilot that flies for the 185th, and he flies the big old tankers, and he used to be a fighter pilot as well. So yeah, we thought it'd be kind of interesting to have him on the show. So yeah, quite the initiation though, Box. Jeez.
Wild turkey.
Wild Turkey 101.
He's like,
I'm sorry, you struck me like a wild turkey kind of guy.
Hey, all right. I'm gonna take that as a compliment. It was not as bad as I remember it. You know,
It really wasn't for me either.
back in college. Was it? Was that part of the one shot that the three wise men hunting turkey on a hot summer day in Mexico? You ever have that one?
I've heard of Three Wise Men, but the rest of that one, no.
Yeah.
Jack.
That sounds like a whole bunch of shots.
Jack, Jose, and Jim. Wild turkey, tequila, and a little bit of what is it? Sriracha.
Oofda.
That sounds like dog shit.
Yeah, it is.
That sounds absolutely horrible. Have you had a prairie fire?
That's the other half of it. The prairie fire is the other half of the right. The prairie fire's got sriracha in the bottom too. Right?
I just heard, same thing, Tabasco and tequila,
Tabasco,
essentially.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
But that shot is probably, I think that's the worst shot I've ever had in my life.
It's bad.
Oh, it's not bad.
And I've had,
That's bad.
it's just, I think it's relative to each person probably. Like, that one is mine. That's fucking terrible.
I mean, we have some tequila and Tabasco in there.
Hard no.
Oh man,
I can't emphasize the no part of that enough. Absolutely not.
something happened to me at state wrestling when I was a senior in high school that I can no longer drink tequila, especially Jose Cuervo. Or just the smell of it or the thought of it makes me want to go.
I was the very same way for many, many years. I would walk into a house and I would know if someone was drinking tequila, and I would have to go outside because it would make me want to vomit. It was pretty bad.
I think everybody has that liquor.
Yeah, everybody's got one.
I bet you can't guess.
Guess what mine is.
Man,
think total bitch.
Oh, like gin, like vodka.
Oh, bitchier.
No, there's no way he's gonna guess it.
Is it like a liqueur of some kind?
Apple pucker.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
Apple pucker.
Yep.
Oh man.
Mine actually. Where did you say yours was?
State wrestling.
Mine. That's exactly what happened to me. State wrestling. Yeah.
Some hotel room with a bunch of buddies, and we didn't we never really drank before,
Yep.
know, in sports and stuff like that. And I don't know, someone's older brother went and hooked us up with like 2 cases of old Milwaukee's Best.
Oh yeah, the good stuff.
Oh yeah, 30 pack for like $5 back then, you know, and of course the tequila. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Mine was the same exact scenario. We went to state wrestling every year. And we actually never went to state wrestling. Like I'd never been
in the arena.
Yeah, ever.
Yeah.
But we'd go and party and have a grand old time. But this particular time we were in high school, you know, idiots. We had a bottle of apple pucker, and I don't know if I was just drinking that or the whole thing, but they all went to the strip club, and I laid on the bathroom floor, and that was pretty much end of my night. And it was horrible. So now every time, like, even if there's a shot with apple in it, like, even if it's Crown Apple or anything like that, it's like, nope, no, thank you.
Anything apple.
Yeah, not a fan.
Nope, I get it. Understandable.
You said, and this was at state wrestling. Did you go to school here, Scott?
No, I went to MLC up in Sioux County, just north.
Okay.
Orange City.
Right.
I was the first class to graduate from there as well, I should say we combined schools, and the middle school and the high school, and I went through MLC Floyd Valley. Otherwise, I was going to be a Floyd Valley kid, you know, farm kid from Hospers, the Hospers area. But schools combined, so I graduated from MLC.
Okay.
So Dutchman, ironically.
I actually used to live in Hospers.
Oh, you did?
For a little while.
No kidding. What year?
Well, I went to school in Sheldon.
Oh, yeah. NCC.
I was there for 3 years, and then 2 of those I lived in Sheldon, and then a year, like the last year, I moved in with a buddy in Hospers.
Sure.
We had some good times there.
Yeah.
You know, it was mostly just because I lived with my buddy, but
sure.
Yeah, it was fun.
Nice little town.
It is, and it's a lot like, you know, pretty much just like the town we live in now. You know, Kingsley. It's about the same
size, same kind of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same deal.
Yeah. So, what year did you graduate?
98.
98. So you'd be okay. You'd be 6 years ahead of me.
A little older. I'm 42.
Okay.
Yeah, 42. So.
All right.
Yeah, I went to graduated from there and joined up with the Army National Guard. So I was in the Army first. I was a Cap Scout out of Lamar's, actually.
Okay.
And then went to college up in Brookings. Did 4 years there and got a commission. Went to the Army as an artillery officer. Did that for another 5 years, and then I crossed over to the Blue to fly jets. So I kind of took the long way of getting there. But hey, never too late, right? I'm proof.
Yeah, the artillery is always. I was just because of the whole situation in Ukraine. I was watching talking about the whole artillery and how that shit all works. That shit's always fascinated me. Like,
oh yeah,
like how the hell, like how exact can they actually be? Like, I mean, when you call it an artillery strike, I mean they can hit a car pretty easily, right? Depends,
right? So type of gun you're firing. And then what you're shooting, right, for a projectile.
Yeah.
And then the firing solution, when I joined, it was all manual. Charts and darts, we used to call it.
Sure.
And you took into effect everything: range, weather, ballistics, and the curvature of the earth, the rotation of the earth, atmospheric pressure, all that kind of stuff that would go into what you would imagine long range shooting, ultra long range shooting.
Right.
So when you say firing solution, that's like aiming, all the different things you take into account.
All those things you take into account go in something called the FDC, the Fire Direction Center. They computate a firing solution that goes to the gun line. And depending on what gun you're on, obviously they're on different locations. You have one gun that's your aiming gun, right? And so he fires one round, and you have observers way down range that are looking where it lands.
Uh-huh.
And then you adjust that fire off of that round, and you kind of walk it into the target. And then as soon as it's close enough where you know the barrage is going to hit what you want.
Yeah.
You say fire for effect, and then all the guns fire with that solution.
Okay. All right.
So,
interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's neat how it all comes together when it comes together the way it's supposed to.
Mm.
It can get f***ed up pretty easily, and it does sometimes. But
yeah. So what's you said like back then it was different. Like how are they doing it now? They use like freaking GPS locating and all that shit. I assume.
Absolutely, computers. Generate the solution. We still got guns that we need to put an elevation and an azimuth in, right?
Right.
And we do that in mils, not degrees. 6,400 mils in a circle instead of 360 degrees. So it's fine tuned, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And these artillery guns are shooting 15 to 25 miles, depending on the projectile, right? I mean, they can some can shoot you can shoot closer than that, obviously, but that's about the range for what you're shooting. And the computer now generates the firing solution with all those things taken into account, so it happens a lot faster. The gun line still does it the same way. They still walk it in and stuff like that. Now, if they're firing one thing at a precision target, you can actually lace those in. We have some projectiles that will follow a laser beam, just like a bomb dropped off an F-16.
Really?
Yeah.
See, the other thing that's always baffled me about that is, I mean, you're so dependent on the rounds being loaded the exact same and the exact same amount of powder behind them.
Absolutely.
You know, and that just always baffled me, because like even like when you're shooting a firearm, like, and you go and you're testing speeds, I mean, they vary wildly. Like, and it's more so, it's closer when you're precision loading, but still, like, that's pretty impressive that they can get that freaking close.
These rounds that are laser guided do have their own fins that pop out, so they will steer a little bit, and you get a little grace from that. But the dumb rounds, I mean, the funny saying in the Army is, you know, you've heard close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades.
Right.
We say close only counts horseshoes, hand grenades, and the field artillery, because it is an exact science, and rarely are you cornholing the target. Usually it's an airburst type of a round, and you're shooting 20 of them. So
spray and pray, the old American method.
You're darn right. Yeah. Not so different than it was in Vietnam or World War II, man.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. Huh. Well,
with the traditional rounds, with the smart rounds that we have now, yeah, you can dial it in pretty good.
Yeah.
And we got rocket artillery now. That's a big part of it. You know, the MLRS systems, stuff like that. So they can put some pretty precise fires downrange. Those things.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't think we'd be talking about artillery.
Yeah, crazy. Reaching way back.
Yeah. So how did you make the transition from, you know, artillery to a pilot then?
So I was in Iraq. I was in Iraq in 2004 and 2005, and I was with a unit that was an artillery unit, but we went over as what was called a security forces company. And so basically at that time, the Army didn't need heavy artillery in Iraq. They'd already won the war. Now they were fighting insurgents. And so anybody that could carry a gun or do a job was sent over as this, I guess, quasi-infantry type of a unit. And so I did that for 15 months. We were over there a long time. And I got back from that, and I was kind of a senior lieutenant, guy in the company that at that time. I got moved to staff. And I really was kind of I was actually looking to get out. I was probably going to get out of the military. And I ended up going to this banquet, this officer's banquet. And I ended up sitting at the same table as the wing commander and the ops group commander of the Sioux Falls unit. And I told him my story, and I was like, well, yeah, I'm going to probably, you know, get out of the military and stuff. And I had some accolades from Iraq, things had gone my way in some of the little fights and stuff that we got in. And it kind of, I was actually being recognized at that banquet, so that's why I was at a table with those guys and not, you know, with the rest of the lieutenants in the back, getting drunk and stuff.
Yeah.
And they said, hey, you know, you should come apply with us. And I'm like, what? I can't do that. What are you talking about? Come fly airplanes? Like, you can do that? And at this time, I'm probably 26 years old and 27. And they're like, yeah, just come apply. And they're like, they gave me some tips on how to be more I guess, competitive in the board, because it's a swimmer's race. You know, there's a lot of people applying for those slots, which I didn't know at the time. But yeah, I applied and got picked up, and they sent me to pilot training, and away I went. Next thing I know, I was getting in airplanes every day. So yeah, it was a crazy transition. Crazy.
So do they like do like a bunch of physical testing on you too? Like, do you know, check your eyes and your physical fitness and all that shit? Or
yeah, all that thing. You go through a flying class 1 physical where they check everything with a fine tooth comb, and I tell you what though, one of the biggest misconceptions, people think you got to have 20/20 vision.
That's what I was just going to ask
fighters. You don't. Yeah. You don't.
Really?
You have to be correctable to 20/20. There's a limit. And I don't know what it is, but you can have eyes that are not perfect. In fact, I knew a lot of pilots that wore contacts in the jet.
Really?
Yeah, several. Yeah.
You say correctable to 20/20. Does that mean then it has to be corrected to 20/20 by the time you're flying? Okay.
When you're going through the let's say I have to wear contacts in the jet. My profile for flying will say that. And when I do my eye test, I'm wearing my contacts, and I better be able to see 20/20, or they better be able to give me stronger contacts, and then I come back and do it again, and now I can see 20/20, 20/15, something like that. So, yeah.
So it's kind of like driver's license. There's a lot of driver's license that says you have to be. Doesn't yours say something about corrective lenses, Box?
There's absolutely that. We've got a medical form, and at the bottom of it, it will say must wear corrective lenses while flying.
Really? So, do they have to be contacts, I suppose? Or you can wear glasses?
Yeah, I've worn glasses in the F-16 a couple times.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I have good vision. My vision bounced between 2020, 2015, and even got a little bit worse for a little while I was staring at computers a lot, doing a lot of studying and stuff. And so they gave me some glasses to wear, so I wear them. And then, I don't know, after I got done doing that, I took them off, and I haven't used them since. So.
Yeah, I'm everyone in my family. There's 6 of us, and everyone else wears glasses, and I've been putting off. Like I can see fine, but if I stare at do small work all day long, by the end of the day I can't read my phone if I've been staring at shit.
That's exactly
so.
Right.
And I've been putting it off, but I probably should go.
I don't even have that problem. Point. Your eyes are way worse than mine.
But at night I do a lot of reading. I have to wear just reading glasses.
Sure.
But in the morning, I can read all day, just fine. It's kind of crazy.
Got to give those muscles a chance to relax.
Oh yeah, it's crazy how big of a difference that makes. You don't realize how tired my eyes get. And I think that's the problem. They just get tired and can't freaking. And I'm getting kind of old. It is what it is. That's the. You did mention something. That's a misconception.
Mm-hmm.
What's some other things? Can you think of any other things that are misconceptions about flying or military that are very common, or in movies or anything like that? Can you think of anything like that?
Yeah, I might have to come back to you on that.
Yeah.
Kind of put me on the spot here. Let's see.
There's a lot,
in the heavy community at least. And in the fighter community as well. I think a lot of people might think that that's all we do is fly, right?
Right.
And actually flying is actually obviously the main point of our job, but everybody has plenty of other duties that they need to do at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So at any given week, most guys will only fly once or twice a week, and maybe even less than that. Some of the older guys like me now, I might get one flight a week now, but the rest of my job is I'm the chief of training right now for the 185th, and so all the air crew related training I have to oversee and implement and track and everything that goes along with that. So that takes up the majority of my days, and then there's all these extra duties on top of that. Whether you're a travel voucher approver, which is kind of self-explanatory, or whatever, you fill some committee on base for building remodel or whatever else you get assigned. Additional duties as assigned. That's the catch. And there's a lot of them.
Yeah, I suppose.
So, yeah, I would say so because most people get surprised when they ask me, how often do you fly? And I say, once a week, maybe, They're like, really? What do you do with all the rest of your time? So
look out the window.
Yeah, stare. Yeah.
So
we get lunch. We take long lunches.
How long how many hours are you over at the base? Kind of close to 40?
Oh yeah, 40 a week for sure. It's a full-time job for me.
Sure.
Yeah. There's guys that are part-time, and they're the guys that come in 2 weeks a year, 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year.
Okay.
And there's full-time guys, and we're about 50-50 because we got missions going on all the time, everywhere, all over the world. So unlike the Army, like when I was in the Army, you were in a group, you're in a company of 150 guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they did everything together. If you went somewhere, it was together. If you did some training, it was together. It was 1 week in a month, you got together, everybody,
Mm-hmm.
The heavy Air Force community, we might have one jet in Guam. We might have one jet in the Middle East. We've got one jet that's doing local, 2 jets doing local missions, just flying local patterns and stuff like that, and refueling with local people like Sioux Falls or Whiteman, or jets from other Midwest bases for training. We got one in maintenance, but they're all over. The point is that they're all over the world all the time. So we never really quit. So we always have people on duty, always on orders, always something happening.
How many jets or how many big jets you guys got over there?
8. Yeah, 8 PAA, primary assigned aircraft.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And that used to be the 185th that switched from the fighter unit to the tanker. When was that?
I think it was 1998.
Okay, so it was just before. It was before you were in there.
Yeah, long before.
Right.
Yeah. So the unit that's it's actually kind of a drama, but fighter units, as they got closed and converted, which was a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth. There was a lot of tears over these kind of things, right? Nobody wanted to convert. Everybody liked, and that's just human nature, right? We hate change. People didn't want to go from one thing to another. They liked what they were doing. Everybody, maintenance, support squadrons, everybody liked, being a fighter guy or fighter force,
Yep.
And I would bet it would be the same way with the tankers today. If you told the unit, hey, you guys are switching to F-16s, there'd be a lot of people that would be like, no way. That is not what I want to do. I'm not looking to do that. That's, they would be against it,
I'm sure.
So anyway, in 1998, they switched the unit from F-16s to KC-135s. Shortly after that, and that was because we weren't Des Moines. So Des Moines got to keep their fighters at the time, but Sioux City being the outlier, the redheaded stepchild of the state way up here in the corner in the industrial city of Sioux City, they got forced to switch. Well, it was a blessing in disguise. Because that first round of BRACs, or that first rounds of conversions, we didn't get BRAC'd, we got converted to KC-135s. Well, a few years later, the same thing happened in Des Moines, but they didn't have the option to go to 135, so they had to do RPAs. So now they're flying drones, which is not what any pilot wants to fly.
No.
If you want to fly airplanes, your little pink body wants to be in the air, not in a cubicle somewhere with screens in front of you. So,
yeah. For sure.
Yeah. So anyway, that's unsolicited history of the Iowa Air National Guard.
Speaking of drones, do you see? I guess I wasn't going to talk about this, but it came up. Do you see eventually that's where the pilot is going? I mean, do you see that happening?
I went down to Golden Triangle Regional down in Alabama, and I got my airline transport pilot license down there, just in case I wanted to do the airlines someday. And the instructor and owner of that school, he told us we were fools to go down there and get that, because by the time it ever paid off for us, all the airplanes would be flown by computers, and and we'd be drone pilots. He's been wrong. He's wrong. It hasn't happened yet. This was 5-6 years ago that I did this, and I think that there will never be a time where civilians will get into an airplane without a no-kidding physical pilot on board. That pilot might morph into more of just a systems monitor, and it might go from 2 pilots down to 1 pilot in some of these planes. I could see that happening before they ever take pilots out of airplanes, because it just doesn't sit right. Americans don't like the idea. No human being likes the idea of being in the air, going 550 miles an hour, and having nobody on board controlling the plane that's got the same skin in the game as you do, So I don't think that'll ever happen. Now, military planes is a different story. I think we're going to start experimenting a lot with that. We're not there yet. We're not there. We've had some successes with some experimental type stuff when it comes to drones as fighters, refueling drones in the air, a drone refueling another drone. There's been some of that success with that, but I don't think it's going to be ever a time where a set of human eyes and a human brain isn't going to look outside, analyze the situation, and be able to take the proper action. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That little nuances that maybe can't be programmed in,
right?
Or at least not yet. No, yeah. I know they say self-driving cars are far more safer than a real human behind the wheel, but a computer I don't think can read something like the expression on the face of the guy on the side of the road, or the worker that's telling you to stop or something like that. Yeah, just as an example. Right?
Yeah, and actually we've talked about this on the podcast before, specifically the self-driving cars. And there's no way to program in, like, say your car is approaching a situation where there's a pedestrian on the left side and a school bus on the right side.
Yeah.
You get to choose one or the other. Like what? I mean, it's a hard no-win situation.
Yeah.
But say the computer chooses the wrong one, like, you know, and that's the same thing as far as military shit goes too. Like when you're put in, I mean, say you're coming up on a situation to, like, you got to drop some missiles or bombs or whatever you're going to do. And all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I think that's a civilian there or whatever. And I don't know the whole, you know, how that all works.
It's a great analogy. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, AI doesn't have the wherewithal and the intelligence. And I don't know if it'll ever, but here's my question. When you say never, I mean, are you talking to like 100 years in the future?
When it comes to civilian traffic, when it comes to civilians flying?
Civilians and then military, yes.
You know, maybe when there's generational change and there becomes a generation of people that accept that as the norm and there's nothing wrong with this and this is totally comfortable for us, then yeah, it could happen.
Right.
I don't think we're there as a society yet. Certainly not my generation, or maybe, you know, a couple generations behind me. I haven't talked to anybody that was like, nah, no big deal. This robot can take me anywhere, fly me anywhere. I have no problem.
Damn sure would not get on an airplane without a pilot.
Right.
I would venture to guess, and there's no way that this will ever be, you know, any of us will ever know how it turns out. But I would bet you within 2 or 3 generations down the line that sort of thing is commonplace. I bet. Because think of how we're raising our children. Like, even when they're young, they're used to computers, and that's just, even the driving cars nowadays. That's normal for them. Like, you know, in 5 years when your kid's grown, you know, a little bit more grown up, that's just going to be commonplace for her. She's going to think nothing of it.
Yeah.
So maybe her kids, you know, aren't going to think anything of public transport that's completely AI or shit like that. You know, so. It could be. I'd bet within a few generations.
But you're only one terrorist, act away from it all going down the tubes for another generation.
That's so true.
Hacking into an airplane and crashing it because there's no pilot on board to click the button off and just hand fly the thing. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, we've already had systems crash airplanes. The 737 Maxes that crashed. Those were pilots that were trained to be just systems monitors. They were not trained to handle the plane when shit went south,
mm-hmm.
you know? And so it was an emergency for them when the plane was not flying itself. And they continued to try to turn that system on over and over and over again because they were so uncomfortable hand flying it. And it just finally, it overwhelmed them and they ordered in, you know, because of that. I don't know if you're familiar with how those crashes went down, but
and which crash are you talking about?
So there's 2 737 Maxes that crashed a few years ago. One was Lion Air, I think. An African airline, and the other, I believe, was Singapore, maybe. I think I'm getting the countries wrong. I'll look it up, or Box, you can look it up. I bet 737 Max crashes, and so. This is years ago.
Was that similar to the one that just crashed in China this year where it went straight down? Was that a 737 Max as well?
I don't think so. And that was I think that was a pilot committing suicide.
Right.
Type
Okay.
of thing.
Sorry. Continue.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that one, to be honest with you. That could have been.
That's actually what I heard too. It was a pilot that, yeah.
But and Boeing took so much crap over this, you know, their stock plummeted, orders were canceled, all this. Airbus couldn't have asked for a dream for them, right? They're selling airplanes like you read about now, but
yeah,
the Max had a system that was supposed to save it when it sensed that the airplane was getting too nose high and was going to stall. In other words, the air going over the wing was going to be to the point where it wouldn't have any lift anymore because it was just too much angle of attack, we call it, and the airplane just drops out of the sky, right?
Mm-hmm.
It had a system on board that would sense that with these AOA indicators. And so the system would look at the AOA indicator. If the AOA indicator said, hey, you're too nose high, it would give it a burst of nose down trim, and we try to push that nose down. Well, the system in these particular planes only had one AOA sensor, and it was all feeding into this controller, you know, that was then misdiagnosing what the plane was doing and giving it these bursts of nose down trim. So the pilots were trying to fly, and all of a sudden, boom, the nose was dropping, they're going out the ground, and they're fighting it to try to keep the nose up.
Mm-hmm.
And they would turn it off, and hand fly it up, and then they'd turn it back on again. And it was designed to give it like a 30-second burst of nose down trim every like 12 seconds if it didn't sense that the problem was being corrected. And that was actually one of the faults. They should have built the system so that it only did that once or twice.
Right.
Know? And then, hey, you knucklehead, if you haven't figured it out by now, there's nothing more I can do for you, but no, it kept doing it. So these pilots would fight it for 30 seconds, and then it would stop. So they're like, oh, is it done? And all of a sudden, boom, it would hit again. And then nose down. And finally they augured in because they were sensor operators, not pilots. They were taught to flip this switch now and that switch then, and do this at this time of the flight and do this at this time of the flight. And if it didn't go as planned, they didn't know what to do.
Yeah, that's
so it happened twice in the same year, same couple months. And it was the same system both times, different airlines, different countries, but the 737 MAX, both times. So
yeah, the first one was in October 29th, 2018. That was a flight from Jakarta, Indonesia to Pangal, Penang, Indonesia. The next one was March 10th, 2019 in Ethiopia.
That's okay. Yeah. Ethiopia.
Yeah, that seems very short-sighted. Like to have people on board that are, in charge, but they don't actually know. It didn't sound like they were actually pilots or have any idea how to actually fly.
A lot of these foreign airlines are not hiring pilots that are taught to fly. They're hiring pilots that they put through a 4 or 5 month course where they learn how to run the systems of the plane. They're not learning the coefficient of lift or why a plane even flies, how a plane
Well, I
flies.
guess I'm not flying foreign.
Yeah, but they're taught to be sensor operators. Not all of them. I mean,
Right.
there's some good foreign airlines as well that their pilots are very skilled,
Yeah.
but there's some of them that cut a lot of corners.
So how long is the course in the military to teach you how to fly?
From the time you start pilot training, it's about a year for the first phase. And then depending on what plane you get to fly after that, it could be another year, after that. Then there's a lot of other courses too that are built in there that aren't necessarily part of flying, but there's stuff you got to do, like SEER training, survival, evasion, resistance, escape. You do water survival, land survival, stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah, it's about 2.5 years. Sorry to answer your question. 2.5 to 3 years to make a pilot.
So here's another question I had. So, I mean, you're fully trained as a pilot. How does the say you retire from the military? How does the transition from military pilot to civilian pilot go? Because I know to get your civilian pilot's license is a whole freaking ordeal. You got to have a shitload of hours and stuff. Do you just get a pass all that being you're a military pilot?
So you're talking about two kind of different things. So it doesn't take a lot of hours to get a civilian license, but it takes a lot of experience to get hired by like a major airline. So civilian guys, when they go into the airlines, let's say I'm off the street, I want to be an airline pilot someday, but I don't want to go the military route, right? First, I'm going to have to go to a school to get all my FAA credentials, my private pilot, then my commercial license, my instrument license. And eventually, if I have 1,500 hours of flying that kind of stuff, then I can get my ATP, my airline transport pilot license. And then I can go work for whoever would hire me. At that point, it's probably going to be some regional airline. You're going to get paid about $30,000 a year, work your ass off, for the first couple of years. Then it increases after that. I think the pay is better now because they're having a hard time finding people, but that's what it was like when I got in. So you'll do that. You'll get yourself, 4,000 or 5,000 hours of regional airline time, and then maybe have a shot at the big leagues, being Delta, United, American, FedEx, Southwest would be included in that group.
So there's there's no shortcuts. I mean,
no shortcuts for civilians.
But does that, like, how many hours of flight time as a civilian do you need to just get your pilot's license?
Which one? Private license, you need about 40 hours.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah.
40 hours?
Yep. And then another 40 hours after that, you could get an instrument endorsement.
Okay.
An instrument just means now I can fly a plane when the weather's bad.
Right.
I can fly off instruments. I don't have to be able to look outside and see.
Okay.
So I'm legal to take off in the clouds. I'm legal to fly through clouds, through, weather. Then after that, commercial license, probably another 60 hours after that. And then the ATP, like I said, you need 1,500 hours of flight experience to get your airline transport pilot.
But do your military hours count towards that 1,500?
They do. They absolutely do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you get a little bit at least.
The military is the shortcut you're talking about, because you start with right off the bat when you graduate from pilot training.
Mm-hmm.
You take an FAA test, equivalency test they call it, and you can get your commercial and instrument rating right off the bat. So you're already that far ahead. And then it's just flying. You're going to accumulate 1,500 hours in no time in the military, depending on what airframe you fly.
Sure.
So, and you can take your ATP through a civilian contractor, kind of like I did, like I was telling you.
Mm-hmm.
But you're an attractive option for the airlines. So when you get to the point where you have like 2,000 hours, maybe even less nowadays, the big ones are, the big leagues are looking at you. You could get hired.
That doesn't seem like a situation that I wouldn't want to be in charge of flying hundreds of people.
No,
like on a nice sunny day.
Yeah,
sure, that's great. Everything's kosher. You're probably gonna freaking pick up the hot chick in the back of the plane if you're the pilot, and if you want to, that's great. But like in a shitty situation, like it's super fucking windy, or you're going into some horrible storm or some shit, like
yeah.
Dude, like, no, that would suck ass.
But there's so many things that make it that are safeguarding you from doing that, right? Mm-hmm. Pilot judgment is obviously the most important thing,
right?
And you will look at a situation after that much flying experience and say, I know what the winds are down there. I know that it's a 30 knot crosswind. I'm not going to try to land in that. I'm going somewhere else. Sorry, passengers, you're going to be pissed, but that's the way it is today. Your lives are on the line if we try to do that.
Sure.
Do you really want to trade that for, some inconvenience of, hey, we landed 100 miles from where you wanted to be and we're going to have to get you there tomorrow.
Right.
So for a lot of those things, we've been doing this a long time. There's a lot of safeties in place to keep, to help pilots make good decisions and to keep planes from getting into situations where you've got to be, you got to pull a glove save out to keep people from dying. It just doesn't happen very often.
Do you have any situations like that in your flying experience that were pretty sketchy that you had to divert, or any scary situations really?
Man, not a ton. They teach you, and I've had to shut down some engines before because they're acting up, or we had an issue. I never had a fire. I've never had a fire in an airplane. In the F-16, I never had engine failure. I've hit some birds before and thought I was going to lose my engine and had to land real quick.
Oofed
but up. Never one where it was a no shitter where I was going to either have to punch out or ride it in. Never had experienced that. They always say, don't ever get yourself in a position where you've got to rely on all of your pilot skill to save you. Like, make good decisions before you get there so that you don't have to, pull out the glove save.
Right.
So
that's kind of a something that we've talked a lot about too, like just in our situation. Like, we're big on concealed carry and getting out of those situations. And one of the biggest things is the same freaking thing. Like, be conscious of what's going on beforehand and exit that situation before it ever turns into a situation. And that must be very similar to what you're saying there.
Absolutely. Same. Yep. Very few times is that, Sully on the river type of a situation where you hit a flock of seagulls, lose both engines, and you're out of airspeed and ideas, and there's nothing you can do but land in the Hudson.
You mean you've never landed on a river before?
Not yet.
I should watch that movie.
I thought you were cool.
Yeah. Why are we having this guy on again?
What a loser. Never even landed on a river. Airliner.
How many hours do you have behind the, what do they call that? Behind the stick?
Sure. In the jet. How many hours you got? Whatever. Yeah. So to speak.
On the stick.
So to speak. Yeah, about 2,500 right now.
Okay.
About 25. Actually, I'm probably closer to 3,000 now. I haven't looked for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I watched, and I talked to you about this the other day. I watched the new movie Top Gun Maverick.
Oh yeah.
And that, it's a great movie. First of all, I believe we talked about it on this podcast, haven't we, Box? I'm pretty sure we have.
You made a note of it. Yeah, you were all about it.
Yeah, it's a freaking great
boner
movie.
for Tom Cruise.
Have you seen? And I don't be insulted by this because my wife has not seen Star Wars. You've seen Star Wars, right?
Oh yeah,
Okay,
man.
all right.
Oh yeah, multiple times.
Is the plot line? I've been told like the plot line followed Star Wars almost to a T. Is that true? I have not seen Top Gun Maverick, so I don't know.
I guess if you really think about it,
against all odds comes back. You know, he's got to fly this crazy mission into no man's land where there's no way he's going to survive. He's got to shoot into a target that's way smaller than what he can handle and to blow up the Death Star. And if he doesn't, you know, it's going to be the end of humanity as we speak.
I could see where it'd be very similar. The only difference
the old mentor
was,
dude, you know,
good.
Short dude with big ears.
Yeah.
The only difference would be the whole freaking movie is about this one run. Where in Star Wars, it's just like that one like little short part of it.
Okay.
And I could see that though. Like, yeah, it'd be very similar.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I gotta see it. I haven't seen it yet.
Oh my God.
I think you will.
What is happening?
What the hell is happening here?
This is my family, Scott.
We have some guests in the studio.
Nice.
It is, Box. It is. It is Jesse's birthday. Box, you're the ripe old age of 33.
Yep.
Oh boy.
And you get a
chickens. This is
a chicken with a Billy Ray Cyrus mullet.
This is pretty common.
Billy Ray Cyrus. That is one heck of a mullet you got going on there, by the way. That is just glorious.
My hair at one time used to be this long. Not a mullet though. It was long.
It was long all around.
Yeah, that's make sure you wear that home to mom tonight. I'm sure she'll be thrilled.
She's gonna have to wait till golf stop. We don't want to reveal. This can't come out until after golf stop, right?
I don't think you're gonna have to worry about mom seeing it.
Yeah, mom does not watch.
I think she steers away from the podcast.
Well, that's a nice. I don't even know what to say. You guys got me speechless.
You guys are rocking. This is Joe Dirt all over. Sam, that actually looks a lot like your hair right there.
Yeah, I know, right?
It
Unfortunately,
yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm getting a haircut tomorrow because I got to be on TV on Friday. So,
oh boy,
yeah, I am getting a haircut, but that is pretty much my color right there, isn't it?
Yep.
My hair used to be almost white when I was in high school, and because I had it under here. I'm an old man.
Yeah.
What a heart.
How does this chicken? Is there a battery in there? How's this thing standing?
There's a fan that blows into him.
There's a battery pack I got
That's.
Here, and there's this.
Where did you get that thing?
You can get anything on Amazon.
Oh my god!
I imagined it being bigger.
How did you? I mean, one night you're sitting at home. You're like, you know what? I want to buy tonight.
An inflatable chicken.
I've wanted one of these forever.
He's gonna strut back and
Gotta
forth.
be one of these.
It's because of the golf stock thing.
Oh yeah.
And the name of our band
is Acoustic Rooster.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we're going to be in a parade on Saturday in Kingsley.
Nice.
And,
Nice.
And
we thought we needed something different.
yeah. And Scott, surprisingly enough, this is not that strange.
This is
like for our whole family situation. I mean, this is like, this is pretty much business as usual. I mean,
nice.
This is.
You guys didn't look that surprised when you walked in. But this is.
Back in 1976, Halloween, I rented a gorilla suit. And I lived in Sioux City by myself, and there was a couple of gals that lived next door to me and just friends. And I conned them into driving me all over Sioux City. When I went to like JCPenney, and I walked through all these stores, and then I went to a Halloween party that night. Melted my current wife's, my only wife, my wife's heart.
How I Met Your Mother
with a gorilla suit.
So the reason Box and I and this whole podcast exist is because of a gorilla suit.
Gorilla suit.
Yeah, wasn't for that.
Oh God! Now what's going to happen because of a chicken suit?
Boy,
30 new baby brother, 34 years younger than you are. All of a sudden, here we go.
What's really funny is when you see these things running down the street. He's been out here running around for a half hour.
He's out front.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Well,
we just thought we'd come up with Jesse a happy birthday.
Well, thank you.
Don't edit this out.
Happy birthday,
No,
Box.
I won't. I won't edit nothing out. This will be in there.
All right, we'll let you get back to more.
Thanks for stopping by, Billy Ray and the Rooster.
You're welcome.
That'd be a good band name, wouldn't it? Billy Ray and the Roosters.
Pete, you look like a lesbian from behind.
You kind of do. You kind of do. Oh, boy.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that.
Oh my gosh.
Happy birthday, Box.
Thank you.
Happy birthday. We actually did not acknowledge it before this, so yeah, you're welcome.
Now I'm glad we took the shot. I was
Yes,
kind of on the
you
fence.
almost-
I'm all in now. Yeah. Love it.
That's yeah. Like I said though before, like that's not that strange.
Out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, that's great.
So now this whole podcast probably makes a little bit more sense to you.
I better get some ice and top
yeah.
off the old.
Oh, do you want to switch over to that stuff
Yeah,
that you wanted to
let's
try?
try the Cedar Ridge. There.
I mean,
know,
you can if you want. I'm not like forcing you to do
probably a party foul on me, but I bought a bottle of this for a guy from Milwaukee that came down to visit our unit for a couple days and see how we do business and stuff like that. And I wanted to give him something back to, he brought me a case of New Glarus, spotted cow beer, and
yeah.
and I gave him a bottle of this home, but I never tried it, so I'm hoping I didn't screw him up and give him.
No, it's actually it's pretty
good.
That's
Yeah.
one
That
of
is
my
some good stuff.
one of my favorites. Yeah,
Try a finger.
yeah, I enjoy it. It's funny though because when we've been on doing this podcast for I don't know 2-3 years now.
It's been over 3 years.
So pretty much since the beginning, we've done Whiskey of the Week.
Yeah.
And not every episode, but a good majority of them.
Yep.
So, like, when we started first drinking it, like, we couldn't really, like, sipping it wasn't it was harsh for us.
Yeah.
And now it's like, even that freaking Turkey 101, I'm just like, I don't even need a shooter with it anymore. Like, it's just like, I guess your taste buds kind of get used to it a little bit.
So you're saying we should try something a little harsher?
No, that is not what I'm saying. I said I'm getting to the point where I truly enjoy this shit now.
Yeah,
It's like,
that Cedar Ridge is good.
you think so?
Yeah, it's a little smoky.
Heck yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
Toad,
I'm happy. This is not disappointing at all.
yeah, it's good shit. Toad used to be on the podcast, of course, and he's into like the
Irish shit.
yeah, and the scotches
okay.
and
Yeah.
but like he'd bring a lot of stuff that was like it tastes like dirty, almost like mossy,
Tasted like dirt.
Like earth.
like smoky
Yes,
smoky
We
moss.
call that peaty. It's peaty.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. And I kind of I don't love it, but I certainly don't hate it. But the other guys on the podcast, they were not real big fans of it. But
The Scotch is like that. I tell you what, it does. Tastes like you put a campfire in your mouth, or
Yeah.
you
yeah,
took a bite of it, tree stump or something. Yeah.
yeah. Years ago, when I was living at my old place, I was watching How I Met Your Mother, and you know that they're always drinking. Barney's always drinking scotch and that or whatever, and I'm like, hell yeah,
That must be so good.
I'm going down to Dusky's tonight, and I walk in there. I'm like, hey, give me some scotch, and like they don't even know what the scotch is or
Right,
the
right.
difference between whiskey and scotch. And like, I think they gave me some like Johnny Walker Blue or Black or one of those or whatever.
Blue is expensive.
And now it was probably the cheaper one, I would assume.
Black or red. Yeah.
But and now I might enjoy it a little bit more, but then it tasted like somebody had just smoked a fat ass cigar and just like put it out in my drink.
Yeah.
There's so much freaking smoke there. That's one we haven't had on the podcast yet, is a Johnny Walker, I don't think. Is it? I don't feel like we've had a Johnny Walker.
I think that's on purpose.
You're not a big Johnny Walker fan?
I remember him bitching about Johnny
Yeah,
Walker.
I think it was my fault because that specific story, I said that I didn't like it. But we might have to try it again, just for shits and giggles.
Boy, I tell you, I told you about pilot training and how long it takes, to get through. One of the phases, one of the years, the second year for me was in Phoenix, Arizona, and in the F-16 or in the fighter community in general, they have these namings where you get call sign, and you get a student call sign, and the students are all. There's about 12 students in a squadron, and the squadron has maybe 15 to 20 instructor pilots, and you're kind of like a family. You're there for about a year, you know,
Right.
with these guys flying every day, trying to learn how to fly, and employ the weapon system and all that. But anyway, we throw this naming party, and all the students are supposed to pay for it, and we're all. At the time, I was single. All the guys are single. We're making money. We're flying. We're living in Phoenix. We just throw all this money at this party. We rent the party bus. We got strippers. We got just bottles and bottles of scotch, you know.
Wearing your jumpsuits when you go out.
Yeah, it was insane. But a couple guys bought bottles of Johnny Walker Blue at like, you know, $350 a bottle. And we're all blitzed on this party bus, passing these bottles of fine scotch around like it's a, you know, like a cheap apple pucker or whatever, and taking shots of it, you know, just a waste. A true scotch connoisseur, maybe not for that particular one, but a true scotch connoisseur would have just rolled over in his grave.
Oh, I'm sure.
Right. You weren't even tasting it. Like, you're not appreciating it at all.
Yeah, not a bit. Yeah.
I never understood that. Like when I was younger,
we thought it tasted horrible at the time. Yeah, I remember.
It tastes bad, so you gotta drink it fast.
Yeah,
I never understood that when I was
like
younger, though. Like the whole like appreciating whiskey thing. I'm like, I just want to get drunk. I don't.
Yeah, right. What's
like,
the point?
What's the point? Like,
it should. If it tastes good and I get drunk, even better, right?
Right. But now, like the little bit older I get, I actually I can appreciate the whole just like sipping whiskey thing, and like I love at the end of the day, a freaking hard day. There's nothing better than like sitting on my patio with a good whiskey on ice and just relaxing. Like I get it now. Like, no, man, maybe none of the younger, I don't think anybody younger really gets it, because I don't know if it just takes age to get that part of it or what.
I don't think you appreciate that kind of stuff until you slow down a little bit to where you're not like always going out looking for this next exciting event that you're so afraid you're going to miss if you don't.
Yep.
You know, like you got to get to the point where you're like, no, I'm really, really content just being here right now and relaxing.
Yeah.
Having a glass of whiskey and scotch or whatever. And
I think you're probably right. 'Cause there were so many years, like I was almost like, it got to be Friday night and I'd get like super anxious. Like I had to leave my house. I had to go out and do something. And I remember having a conversation with my parents in my 20s. I was like, how the hell are you guys just sitting at home on a Friday night? Like, I don't comprehend this. I couldn't get it. Like, my brain it didn't compute for me. And they're like, just wait. You'll get there. I was like, no, I won't.
I don't
and like,
get there.
Yeah. Like,
in the grave.
Yeah. And then like I hit my low 30s and then I started getting it. It's just like, I don't have to go out every Friday and Saturday night, and it's pretty freaking nice. Like I finally get it. I think it's just, I wish it didn't take so long for me to catch on to that.
Right. And now you do once in a while just to check to make sure nothing's changed.
Right.
Nope, it hasn't changed. It's still, the hangover still sucks.
Yeah, the worst.
The bar was still the same. It's the same things going down. No matter what town or city you're in, it's the same scene.
Now I'm going to feel like garbage for 3 days.
I used to party for 1 day or 5 days and recover for one. Now it's the other way around. Right. So
unfortunately,
there goes my
same way for you, huh? Doesn't get any better.
You know, the aircrew lifestyle it wears on you after a while, but I still love it. But that's about the only time I do it. I push it up because we fly to some pretty cool places in this jet. That's the one thing I'll say about the tanker. So the F-16 was awesome. It was like driving a Ferrari and the thing yanking and banking and flying low levels, 500 feet, 500 knots was awesome. It was a blast, right? But the quality of life was like dog eat dog. We eat our young, and you're never good enough, and you suck every day, and you never get them out. It's a stressful career. It really is. It's a hard thing to ever master. The tanker, it is way more laid back, and the jet for the flying is not nearly as exciting. But the places we go are amazing, and it is a blast that way. Quality of life is way up there. So we get to places, and it's I've been drunk in some exotic locations.
So what's a typical trip for you? I guess I don't realize how these work. You just get assigned to fly somewhere and then you land at a base and then you run your mission out of that place, or
Sometimes. So we've got this, there's a couple different ways we go places. One is through the guard, and then the other is through the active duty. And if the active duty has a mission, we have one jet and a couple crews on notice all the time to go fly this mission for the active duty, should they need us. And they will call us to do anywhere between 2 to 5 missions a month, depending on how long these missions are. Right. And so those crews will take turns and they'll go fly these missions. Now, one time for instance, one time, when I was assigned to one of those crews, we got tasked to air refuel, F-18 Hornets to get them across the Atlantic from the East Coast to the Azores. And then from the Azores, to Crete, an island in the Mediterranean, and then from Crete to, the Middle East, like Al-Udeid. And so, there's several different legs in that trip, right? And so, we take off, we fly to the East Coast, and we're there overnight. So we go to the bar. You know?
Yeah.
And then, we have the rule, we don't drink within 12 hours of a takeoff, or sometimes we say no drinking within 50 feet, no smoking within 12 hours. I think that's how that works, maybe. Anyway, we hang on the East Coast and we take off and we fly the mission and we take them to the Azores. And now we're on this island for maybe 18 hours, maybe 24 hours, So, you sleep for some of it, you explore for other, portions of it, and you get in the jet the next day and you do it again. And you fly to Crete. You're in an island in the Mediterranean. So you're there for 48 hours. So some of it you sleep, some of it you explore, some of it you mission plan, you're ready to go. But there's always time to go, there's almost always time to go see the world a little bit.
That doesn't sound half bad.
Yeah. And then sometimes I've gone every direction, right? North, south, east, west. This year I was in Paramaribo, Suriname. It's a little country in South America. At the end of the month, I'm supposed to go to, Ohio and pick up a bunch of people and haul them to Hawaii and then to Guam and then back again. So anyway, and that's the other side. So I said active duty is one way. They feed us missions, and then the other way is the National Guard will say, hey, we got 30 Army dudes that want to go to Suriname to train and work with the people down there. They're medical people, and they're going to get experience treating people in the jungle, right? So they go out and they try to find a plane in the Guard that'll haul them down there. And so we'll pick up those missions and we'll haul people, that way. So
that seems like almost like the way to go. Like, is there any other profession that you're going to get that much chance to go see, like, just the world? I mean, that sounds like
flight attendant.
Fantastic.
Yeah, flight attendant.
That's probably true.
You got the leg sport box. You might.
You do.
You
do.
I've been considering a career change. I'll look into that one.
I've been hiding them behind this podcast. I'll tell you what.
I'll save them tonight.
Yeah, that's right. No, I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's something out there. But this was, I every once in a while I'll sit back and say, you know what, not bad for some dumb farm kid from Northwest Iowa.
Hell yeah.
It's a pretty good gig.
Hell yeah.
It's a pretty good gig.
So on the other side of the coin, is there anything you do different? Like, looking back at your life, is there anything you do different this far?
I sometimes wonder if I would skip my Army years, but I don't think I would. I think, the experience I gained and then the friends I made and the leadership, skills that I got to learn doing that job, it might have sucked, but it was a means to an end,
Right.
And you never know. It probably wouldn't be, where I am or who I am today if it wasn't for that. So, a lot of people take a lot more direct line towards flying than I have. In fact, a lot of my peers that I fly with, they got way more experience than I do. They got way more hours in the jet than I do because they did it right away, right as a lieutenant. They came in and started flying. Whereas, I did 8-9 years in the Army first. So,
Right.
But I don't think so. I think I do it the same way.
Yeah, and I'm kind of the same way there with you. Like, I look back at my life and I was like, well, shit, I wish I would have started Shyworks when I was 22, 21 or whatever, but it doesn't work like that. Like,
right.
All that time that I was doing out of body and all that shit, like the shitty years of my life, that's exactly what prepared me for the shit that I'm doing now.
To be disciplined enough, skilled enough, and smart enough to run your own business and do it
100%.
all, without, failing.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think about that a lot. Yeah,
absolutely.
Or even to realize, I mean, our family, we don't work well for people.
I you know what? That's hard to believe. I mean, I don't know if you can get paid to ride a chicken, you get sitting pretty good, but I don't know if that's,
he's rolling in the big money.
yeah.
And actually, it's Dad. He raised us. Mom and Dad raised us working their Shire Woodworks. I'm self-employed. Box is self-employed. My brother's self-employed. My sister, she has her own little thing too. It's just like, I think it's just kind of in the blood.
Just damn independent sons of bitches here.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good. No, it's good.
Absolutely.
So I was wondering, do you have like your plane, or do you swap planes all the time?
Nah, we all share.
Okay.
Yeah, we all share. It's the planes. Us pilots might talk a big talk, but really the maintenance guys are the ones that own the airplanes. We just borrow them every once in a while. Yeah.
So you don't have your own fuzzy dice?
No, we don't. Yeah, they own the airplane. They really do. And our maintenance at Sioux City is phenomenal. It's really good. These guys care about their planes. They care about their jobs. They care about like the way that their planes look, how they fly, and it hurts them more so than having to fix the plane. But just if their plane breaks and it doesn't complete a mission for it, that reason, I think it cuts them worse than it cuts the pilots. I really do.
That's another.
They take a lot of pride.
I was talking about the pressure of the pilot earlier.
Yeah.
In a shitty situation, but that's something almost worse would be the mechanic. Like, I spent 12 years as an auto body guy, like fixing cars and shit. Like, and if I f something up, the car overheats, the car, does whatever, just is a little f***ed up. Guess what? They go over the side of the road. Done.
Yeah.
Problem solved.
I don't know. I started a car on fire pretty bad one time.
I did that too. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like a great story. Yeah, but you're right. A mechanic screws up, fucks up the airplane, people
right.
die, or it
like
could be a real
that's
serious situation.
Freaking yeah. And I hadn't mentioned it before, but Scott's actually on our fire department. Box, I think you knew that.
I didn't actually.
The listeners probably didn't know. But there's also another guy, Max, on the department, and that's what he does. He's a mechanic over there, correct?
You bet. He sure is. Max is one of our phase maintenance guys, and he also goes on the road. Recently, he's been traveling a lot doing.
Yeah, that's what he said. I was on a call with him the other day. He said he'd been traveling a lot.
Yeah, so he's good. He's a great maintenance guy, smart dude, and does a great job for us. So
that just to me seems like super stressful. Like,
you got to remember though, it's such a team effort, and we've been doing this a long time. The checks and balances that are in place to make sure that everything that's done is checked by multiple levels after the mechanic does his job. Then the mechanic supervisor checks the job. Then the supervisor's supervisor checks the job. Then we have a whole shop called QA. Quality assurance that goes in and checks the job. So, I mean, there's all these multiple things that happen every time that any job is done that keeps it from going out the door with, something
redundancies
could be
built in.
Catastrophic. There's a lot of redundancy. We have a model and I used to be in the safety office, and, we call it the Swiss cheese model, and so there's holes in every process there is, but the more of those levels you have lined up, the less of a chance there's going to be one line through all of those holes in Swiss cheese that doesn't stop the mishap from happening. I don't know if that analogy, if you can picture that in your mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every level of checks and balances is a slice of cheese, and the Swiss cheese has holes in it. But if it's different, rarely will there be multiple levels where all the holes line up and the mishap can make it all the way
makes
through
sense.
To the end user, where it can, cause a problem. So
that makes sense. Speaking of military habits, do you have, like, you've been in the military most of pretty much your entire adult life?
Yeah.
What are some habits that rubbed off from the military? I mean, do you get up at 6 o'clock? Do you make your freaking bed? And what's your habits that you got from them?
I'm a fairly early riser, I think, unless we have a night where wild turkeys involved, and change everything. But yeah, I get up at 5:15, and I don't know if I told you this, but I also farm with my dad on the side. And so every day that I'm not working on base, I'm usually going the other direction up to Sioux County and farming with my dad.
Okay.
So the early rising thing, it could be part of that too.
I kind of figured, because I just hearing your conversations around the fire department and stuff, I kind of figured you must have been in the farming too, and I didn't quite put two and two together. But
yeah,
okay,
for sure. But yeah, I think maybe a little bit of an attitude thing too with I don't quit and do hard things kind of attitude, which I think is a good thing in some ways and maybe not so good a thing in other ways. I'm a firm believer that if you have it too easy in life, you'll grow up to be nothing, because you never learn how to fight. You never learn how to really persevere when shit gets hard, So how do you train yourself for that? You can't just wait till something hard happens, because then you're not prepared for it, right? That's a poor training. So do hard things. So when the hard happens, you're ready to handle it, And I actually think that's a military thing that rubbed off on me. I'm going to turn 43 this year. But on the 28th of this month, I'm going up to Sioux Falls to run the Sioux Falls Marathon.
No shit.
I'm not a runner. I don't like running. It isn't pleasant for me. None of it's easy. It sucks. My knees don't like it. My legs don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah.
But if you can do those hard things and accomplish those things when it's tough, it prepares you for when life really throws the curveballs at you. You know what I mean? So I think it's worth doing. Do hard things. Be hard, so to speak.
I would
I'm
100%
catching on to the so to speaks. He's a little slow.
So to speak.
I would 100% agree with that, and I'm right there with you. I run. I enjoy. I should clarify. I don't enjoy running. I enjoy, like, while I'm running, I'm like, why am I doing this? This is stupid. It sucks. But I think it's that exact same mindset. Like, do hard things. So, like, when I'm done, I feel great. I feel accomplished, and I feel like, you goddamn right, I did something. And that's exactly why I do it. I use it as a stress relief. You're like, if I have a hard day, I'm like, I got to go freaking run 2 miles, just
absolutely.
A marathon though, like that's
that.
I've never done it before, and I don't think I'll do another one. I really don't.
You haven't even ran it yet. You're like, nah, not again.
Have you actually ran 26 miles straight yet?
Hell no. When I get to the point where I'm running 26 miles, then I'm done. Then I've done it, right? So that's it. That's it. That's the end. No, this training that I've been doing, the longest I've gone is 18 miles now. And that was last week.
Well, if you can do 18, you can do 26.
Well, and now next week is 20, and I'm going to try to make it 22. But then that's it. After that, that's the longest run you do before you actually run the marathon in the plan that I'm following. Anyway. So, but it is not easy to to get yourself motivated to do that. After about the half marathon run in training, when you're working up to it, which I did in Sioux City as a race, I found a half marathon race to do. Because if I'm going to run that far, then I want a freaking t-shirt at least, damn it.
Hell yeah.
I'll walk away with something from this thing. Anyway, so I did that. And after that, I was like, this isn't really fun. I'm not really, but I knew that I had a tendency to do that, to change my mind to the easy. So I had told a bunch of people, oh yeah, I'm running the marathon. I'm doing it. So now I'm pot committed, right? Because I can't look like a pussy in front of everybody.
That's good motivation.
So now I gotta do it. I gotta do it. So I kept going, and every week it kept stepping up. It was 13 miles, then it was 14, then it was 16, then it was 18. Now it's 20 or 22. I'm gonna try for, and then you take 2 weeks off, and then you go run the damn thing. So.
Yeah, I've never been like a super long distance guy. Like I did cross country in high school.
Sure.
And that's only a 5K, and it's not that far. But when I talk about running, I'm talking about like 2 to 3 miles or whatever. Like
that's what I was, and that's what I like. That's my comfort range, right? Like the Army PT test, 2 miles. When I got to the Air Force and it was only 1.5 miles. Yeah, score. This is good. I like it.
So what made you want to do the whole get hard thing? Like, push yourself? You want to just
kind of, so to speak. Exactly. He's catching on real fast. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely it was. And, there's a lot of things you can choose, I guess, to do. It doesn't have to be running. It could be anything, right? Anything that you find is difficult for you. This just happened to fit as a challenge for myself that I could do, that I could train for, that I thought was a hard but attainable goal. And I don't know a lot of people that have done it. I am by no means a professional athlete, so I'm not going to be, going out and qualifying for Boston or anything like that. I just want to complete it, right? Say I did it once in my life, and then move on to the next thing. Right?
Be done with it. Hell yeah.
This just happens to be what it is.
Have you ever heard of David Goggins?
Yeah.
I just read his book.
Can't hurt me, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you read it?
Extraordinary. Yes. I have.
That is.
Yeah.
I've never read something that made me feel more like a pussy.
He does some crazy stuff,
but yet motivated me more.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think of that so many times when I'm running, and I'm like at I'm like 3/4 of a mile in, and actually the route that I run, I go out down to the football field and then out around the school, and there's that little, you probably run the same freaking route. There's that little, the little hill up there before you get to the school, and I'm just like trudging along, and I'm like, oh, my life sucks so bad. And then I think of David Goggins. I'm like, this bitch ran 100 fucking miles,
he's ultras.
4 days after, with no training. Like some guy challenged him to 100 miles. And then 4 days later, he ran it.
He's a freak, man. And the dude's amazing. I love it. Yeah. I love his book is great. I've actually, I don't have it anymore, but before it was, became widely known that TikTok was a Chinese, information gathering, platform, I had it, and I had his feed on it. And I would see his little motivational snippets that he would put out. I tell you one thing though, the one thing that really got me to do this particular thing was that in Iraq, my supply sergeant in Iraq, his name is Jason Anderson. He's from Minnesota. The dude came back from Iraq, started running, and started getting into long distance running, and now he does ultras, right? I had another friend of mine in the platoon, because I didn't stay in contact with Sergeant Anderson, but I did stay in contact with a couple of the other guys over the years. And mind you, this is now, we're 18 years ago already, or 17 years ago now that we came back. And I'm staying in contact with these guys, and they're like, hey, did you heard Anderson is an ultra guy now? He's doing ultras. And I'm like, no way. Dude, he was short, a little bit overweight, kind of chubby, round face kind of a dude. Yeah. Did not look like an athlete at all. And I'm like, there's no way. There's no way he's doing ultras. That can't be true. I had it on this pedestal that was this unattainable thing for me personally, but then you're size yourself up all the time to people around you and everything. And you're like, well, holy crap, he can do it. I can at least do this, right. that I've kicked off my whole life. And I've always said, no, I don't want to run a marathon. I don't want to do that. I have no interest in that. Well, I had no interest in it because it's hard. I had no interest in it because it was something that I knew would take a lot of freaking effort and it would hurt, And so when I saw that, it kind of motivated me. Man, I'm kind of being a pussy. I should do something more, So,
yeah.
And I really sincerely hope that this is there's other things I've done too, but this is the hardest yet. And I hope the next thing will be the hardest yet. And I hope the next thing will be the hardest yet. And when I quit doing that's when I'm, I don't know, dead or retired, one of the two.
Yeah. The David Goggins book, when he's talking, I think about that so much. And there's two areas when I like that first little hill up that I was just talking about, and then you go around the school, and then right before you get back to the parking lot, there's that other hill. And those are the two difficult areas for me. And I just think about the Goggins talking about how, in SEAL training and all the bullshit that he went through. And I'm just like, dude, if he can fucking do this, if he can do that shit that he went through, there is no fucking legitimate reason why I can't get up this little freaking puny ass hill.
Yeah.
And he talks about the 40% rule. There's so many people that say you use 10% of your brain, but he says you use 40% of your ability, when you first start.
Yep.
And he pushes it so much past that. I 100% believe this. There's like this, when I'm running up that tiny little freaking hill and I'm bitching, like that's my 40%. Like there's no reason, like the only reason that I want to quit is because I'm a little bit uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Like the only reason I want to slow down is because I'm a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, for sure.
Doesn't make like and you push past that and there's that reward on the other end of it. And dude, you're going to feel that reward as soon. And I have no doubt in my brain that you will finish that marathon. And please let us know when you do, because I'm excited to hear the results of it.
Yeah, I hope so.
And God damn it, I've been thinking about doing something like that. I don't know, man. That's 26.2 miles is a long fucking ways. God, that's a long ways.
I still have some animosity when I think about it.
I'll bet. But like I said, dude, I've known you for a few years now, and there's absolutely no doubt in my brain that you'll come out gold.
Appreciate it. I hope you're right. I think you are too. I think you are. I think I'm too stubborn to not, finish it, but we'll see.
And that's been why I've accomplished anything in my life, because I'm just a stubborn son of a bitch. And if I put my mind on it, it's going to happen. And I think you're probably the exact same way.
Absolutely. Mm.
I was thinking about, we were talking about the Top Gun Maverick movie. And actually everybody is probably listening to this, and you have seen the first Top Gun movie.
Yep.
And going into that training there, and you're competing, and like it's so difficult. You mentioned something like that, the competition with your classmates and everyone. Mm. Is that how that must be pretty much how it really is?
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, what Top Gun is centered around is weapons school, right?
Right.
The Navy calls it Top Gun. The Air Force calls it weapons school. So, I've never been to weapons school. I've heard that it is very much like that.
Right.
In both Navy and Air Force. In pilot training, it's competitive as well, especially for the active duty kids, because they know they have to compete for that jet that they want to fly. Now, not all of them want to fly fighters, but most do. Most kids, if you go to the academy or if you go into flying and you want to make a profession of it, it's because you were so motivated by something as a kid that you're willing to cash in every chip you got for that chance. And that chance, usually that kid wants to fly something pointy, something with a pointy nose, that drops things and shoots things. So,
is there really that much? I mean, is there? How much are fighter jets like right now? Like, we're not at war with anyone. Right. Like, we're supporting, separate things throughout the world, and I'm sure we're in a lot of countries. But like, how much are fighters really flying right now?
A lot more than you think.
And so why is it so competitive? I mean, because is it mostly just like patrols and stuff like that? But I suppose the guys that get those patrols are the top of their class.
In the U.S. Air Force, we have about 250 F-22s. We have maybe 1,000 F-16s. Maybe less than that now. Right? Okay. A smaller amount of F-15s, an even smaller amount of F-35s. The number of cockpits that we have for fighter pilots are maybe an eighth of the seats we have in heavy jets, or the number of billets we have to fly heavy jets. Okay. We just have more heavy jets. We have more big jets. We have more, even small jets, even the little jets that take the CIA guy and drop him off in a dirt strip in the middle of Africa and don't have a tail number on the back. Those are Air Force pilots, right? But there's two of them in there, in that little jet, right? There's a lot of those kind of planes. In my class, and this ebbs and flows, it changes, but in my graduating class, we had 33 in my graduating class, and 3 got fighters out of my class, of the active duty kids. So the rest got something else. Mm-hmm. That's something else, maybe an AC-130 gunship, which is fucking cool.
Hell yeah.
But or maybe a B-2 bomber, worth $3.3 billion. That's pretty cool. But the majority got something else. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's competitive, yeah. Now, kids will think that that's the end all be all. Oh, the jet I fly is going to be the thing. I've got to get I've got to get a fighter or, fighter or die kind of mentality.
Mm-hmm.
But then when they get into their real life, they'll realize that there's goods and bads to both. There's pros and cons to every field and every jet. And I talked about a few of them earlier, and that's very true.
Yeah. Yeah.
So sorry, I was on my phone a little bit earlier. So do you have like a rough estimate of how many planes there are to fly, or how many pilots there are, positions in the Air Force?
Total? No.
Yeah.
No.
Not even f***ing close?
Yeah, not even.
Okay, I was just curious. I was looking up how many people are in the Air Force, and it's 328,000. So,
but ask your little Google machine how many pilots there are in the Air Force, because there's so much support that goes into keeping a plane in the air, right? And I always say, don't forget that we're the Air Force when we fly planes, because if we don't, really don't do anything the Army can't do, right? And in World War II, we were part of the Army. We were the Army Air Corps, right? And we didn't break off from the Army until strategic bombing and the Cold War started to be a big thing, and we decided the Air Force needs to be its own branch, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some people forget that. Sometimes our own generals forget that hey, we're the Air Force and we fly airplanes. There are a lot of jobs, there's a lot of positions in the Air Force, and they all matter. They all are very, very important to keeping that jet airborne, keeping that jet in the air.
Well, we were talking about this the other night at Golf League. We were talking about maintenance, how long it takes.
Yeah.
Like the the F-16, there's like 17 hours of maintenance for every 1 hour of flight or something like that. It's something freaking ridiculous. So I assume it's pretty similar with the big-ass C-130s.
Absolutely. Absolutely it is. And here's the thing, though. I mean, we're not talking about the plane sitting in a hangar for 17 hours being worked on for every hour that it's flying.
Mm-hmm.
We're saying that man-hour wise, for every hour it flies, I might have 17 maintenance dudes come and work on that plane for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So that it can fly the next day.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or maybe I only have 4 maintenance guys available, and they've got to put in 4 hours each.
Sure.
To make it fly the next day. So, but that math is accurate for sure.
And that doesn't always actually mean like actual maintenance. Just like checking up on shit and making sure everything's in order. It's not like, oh, we need to fix so and so.
Yep. Checks and balances. Checks are a really big part of it. Another part of it is, does the airplane has tons of components that have a life cycle, right? There's only a certain number of hours we're going to let this component X fly before we just replace it, because we know that it wears out in X plus 5, and we don't want it to wear out in flight. We don't want it to break while it's flying. So after X number of hours, we replace it. And there's tons of parts like that on an airplane that the Air Force just will do. We replace before it breaks, because we know that, it has a tendency to fail at a certain number of hours.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Like just going back to what I was saying earlier, that whole freaking, man, that's a lot of pressure. And I understand there's a lot of freaking safeguards and shit, but still, dude, that's like, wow. That's, we had another topic we had talked about a little bit before. There's been a lot of videos released by the Pentagon in the last few years.
Sure.
Have you seen any aliens?
What can you tell us about aliens, man? What's your thoughts on that whole deal?
Man, that's a tough topic, guys.
Have you seen anything crazy in your person?
I have not personally seen a UFO or something that I could not explain.
That you didn't look at it and you were like, "What the fuck?"
Right. I have not personally. So the stories I've heard and the people that I've talked to are things that they've claimed, and they're people I trust. I think there's definitely a very strong possibility that there are some extra non-human things going on out there. Not from this Earth type things going on out there. I really do.
Yeah, I think this was only 4 or 5 episodes ago we were talking about this. Like, just some of the technology, like the videos straight from government release. So you're pretty confident that it's not doctored video. but it's just like images of or videos of objects all of a sudden accelerating so fast that if there was any humans in there, they would not survive, because humans can only survive up to a certain, how many G's?
20 some G's, right? Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So, which makes you say, well, either then they're drones.
Yeah.
But look at the technology of propulsion behind them. Like, so you're saying other countries are so far advanced above us, or there's other life, like, and really, I mean, like with the telescopes now, like you saw that picture that was just released a few weeks ago, like that, the vastness of space, like it doesn't make any sense that, like, so I'm just going to ask you point blank, you just from your limited observation, you think there's life other places other than Earth?
I think that there's a very good chance of that. If I was a betting man, I would definitely not bet that we were the only source of life in the universe.
I don't think so. I don't think I would
foolish. So here's the other thing. I mean, you talk about Alien Bob. We talk about the whole New Mexico crash of long ago, and there's these rumors of these technologies that we gained from that. Whether it's Kevlar, fiber optic, these things that we said we got from that spaceship, that crashed. I don't see a lot of things refuting that. Where'd it come from? Who created Kevlar? Do we know? I don't know.
This is something I'm not familiar with. We haven't
credit for it, right? Or fiber optic. Who is the? I mean, we all know that Bill Gore invented the internet, but who invented fiber optics? Those things to me are evidence of it. You've heard of Tom DeLonge. You've heard of his book and the way he feels about it. And his evidence. Tom DeLonge is
he's Blink 182,
but he's really big into this as well. And there's some dudes from past U.S. government that held past U.S. government positions that were high up enough to really know a lot of shit. And back when we used to cover up a lot of shit, and now we're not really covering up anymore. And ironically, fascinatingly, nobody's really paying attention to it. You know what I mean?
Right? Yeah. It's freaking wild.
It's not the top headline in the news. And if it was for a fleeting moment, and then it's gone. I mean, when a Navy, targeting pod captures this stuff that we can't explain, and it looks like a damn Tic Tac going at 5 times the speed of sound, and then changes direction on a dime and goes straight up in the air, 70,000 feet. We can't explain that, right? Like, so. You either accept the fact that, wow, we've been lied to, and we are way, way, way far behind technologically than other countries, some other country out there, or there's something else going on, like outside of the Earth that's where that came from. So
I saw one the other day. It was a Navy ship recording this object or whatever, and it was basically just cruising along nice and slow, and then all of a sudden it just dived down into the ocean, which, if you're familiar with aircraft, normally they can't just go down in the ocean that fast, and there's not going to be any wreckage because of that, the concrete effect basically of water on something. But yeah, like there's so many of those videos now, and there's so many that have been released that it's just like, it's hard. It's almost hard to refute. But it's so against everything that we've been taught. Like like no one's ever told us. It's just, it's wild. It makes, it baffles my brain.
Yeah.
And the other,
I mean, how it fits into our existence.
Right.
People don't want to think about it.
Right.
People don't want to be able to wrap their mind around that, because most are so consumed with what's in front of their face that's way above their pay grade.
Yeah.
Way above their mental ability, capacity.
Yeah.
To think about. But I've been flying in the F-16. I've done missions in north of Las Vegas. And there's stuff going on in Area 51. There for sure is. They tell us there's certain times where they say you cannot land there. If you have an engine failure, you will eject instead. If you land there,
really,
you're in deep shit. Yeah.
Really.
Like, and you can see it. I mean, you can look down from outside of that restricted area. It's a square right in the middle of the Natter, the Nellis Air Training Range, Nellis Advanced Training Range, whatever Natter stands for. So it's been years. There's a square block, and the square is Area 51, and you shall not overfly. You shall not go in there for any reason.
How big is that square? How many miles? You remember?
Like 20 by 20, maybe. Like 20 miles by 20 miles. It's a perfect square. You can find it. You can literally look at you can Google Natter, Nellis Air, whatever, that range north of Las Vegas, and you can see the Natter and you can pick it right out. It's a square right in the middle of it. You don't go in there. You don't. And, if you have an engine failure and you end up going in there, but there's runways that disappear into mountains. There's a facility in there. You can, like, with your eyes, you can look in there and see that there's facilities and stuff like that, and some dry lake bed type runways and stuff. But they protect it pretty hard.
And that sort of thing really makes you wonder, like, why? What aren't they telling us? Like,
well, there's some good reason for it. Obviously, there's a lot of good reasons to have state secrets and to not tip our hat to everything we're doing or plan on doing to every adversary out there. There for sure is. So,
well, as far as
is aliens one of those? Maybe.
Yeah, as far as our technology, absolutely, I would agree with that. But like hiding the existence of alien life form, I like, that's a whole nother thing to me. Like, and the other issue, which I won't dive into very far, but I'll just mention in passing. The way, like, there's so many people in this country that are religious. Mm-hmm. Like, and when you somehow try to justify alien life with all of a sudden the religion that the majority of America has been exposed to their entire life, like, that just, it kind of blows your mind almost. Like, because you can't, like, those two, you think they're exclusive to one another.
Yeah.
But really, when you think about it, and I have no idea what your religion is, or even if you're a religious felon, it doesn't really matter. But when you really start to get down to thinking about it, Christianity doesn't say that it excludes life forms elsewhere.
Absolutely,
it never excludes it.
Absolutely, it doesn't. And I'm totally. I am for sure a Christian, and I for sure believe in the Bible and what it teaches and all that. And I by no means am I a perfect or maybe even a good Christian, but I certainly believe it. That there's a God and all that. But why would I think that the God of the universe that created everything couldn't do this on some other planet too?
Exactly.
And why wouldn't he? Why would it just be us? Are we that cool? Are we that important? Right. The God of the universe would just do this once. Like, hey, I got an idea. This is one time. We're just gonna this one people, this one thing. That wouldn't make sense to me. It wouldn't. Like, if this is a really, not to dive too far into it, but if we truly believe omnipotent God, right? If we really believe that, then we really should believe that he could probably do whatever the heck he wanted to.
Right.
Which could be that too. Who knows,
Yeah. And that's one thing. Cause I was brought up we were brought up as fairly religious. We went to church every Sunday and Wednesday, and that's just, so the way my thinking was like, well, we're the only ones. That's just how it is. But when you really get down to reading about it, it says he created the earth. It doesn't say he didn't create other ones.
Right. Exactly.
So, and that once you realize that, your mind just like opens up and it's just like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
What the, and it's a whole nother, I don't even know what to say about it. And I don't know if I'm reaching like a midlife crisis, or I probably am, but I've been reading a lot of like, I'm reading about some philosophy and just like expanding my mind and all that. And so it just makes me think about all these things now. And it's just like, wow, everything that I did hold as fact is just kind of out the window now. You're just like, wow, it's freaking wild.
It certainly makes you put things in perspective. It certainly
Yes.
makes you feel like, oh, well, I really thought this was a big deal. But in the grand, universal scheme of things, maybe it wasn't.
Right.
Maybe it was, not something to get us worked up over, put so much time and effort into, or whatever it happens to be. You know where I'm going, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it could really help you, frame things in a way that.
And the other thing is time.
Yeah.
That I've been really thinking about lately. And I just turned recently 37, so I'm creeping up on 40, and I think that's a big birthday for everybody. My brother, the goofy guy in the wig that was this year, he just hit yesterday. Actually, he just hit 40.
The lesbian.
Yeah, the
Exactly.
lesbian
From the back.
The lesbian.
I like that.
From
He's
the back
referred
only.
to the lesbian.
Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
I think when anybody hits that age, you just kind of reflect on things. But there's been a meme going around that really hit me from the time that we first learned to fly, which was like 1904, 1902, something like that.
Yeah.
Until we made it to the fucking moon was 60 some years.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty awesome, isn't it?
In the
one
grand
person's lifetime. In
Right.
one person's lifetime.
right in the grand scheme of humans, that is freaking insane.
Yeah.
So my mind just lately has been absolutely blown by this fact. Just like it's the insanity of it. And then we got old Elon Musk working on getting
AI.
to Mars and all this stuff. It's just absolutely crazy.
I think the AI stuff. Oh, so go ahead.
So with that thought, in one lifetime, we went from flying to reaching the moon. Do you think we'll reach Mars in our lifetime?
Yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
do.
I think so.
I
think
do.
so. Yeah.
I think
I think I agree.
I think technology is advancing at a fast enough rate that and say we live till we're 80, another 40 years. I think it'd be hard to imagine that in 40 years we don't reach Mars.
But I guess the question would be why, and what would we do with it? Because I get it. Like Elon's talking about, going to Mars. He needs to go there. We need to have an alternative place because we're going to destroy our planet.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's saying that, but the motive for reaching Mars, I still don't understand what we're going to do with it. It's not inhabitable by us, not just walking around, not like Earth. So, what does that really mean? Is it a total recall situation where there's some kind of underground thing there that we just need to trigger it, and it'll create this atmosphere, and all of a sudden we have a second Earth kind of thing. You remember that movie?
I remember Total Recall.
Total Recall. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, they're on Mars, and they finally trigger this thing, and it creates this chemical reaction, hydrogen thing, and it creates an atmosphere in Mars, and all of a sudden Mars is inhabitable now.
I know the movie, but I haven't actually seen it. Yeah. So yeah. But to answer your question, why?
Yeah.
I feel like it's just human nature. If you look at we're explorers. We didn't know the entire globe. So and I've been reading about the book I'm reading is called Meditations by Augustus what's his name? Augustus Caesar, whatever.
Aurelius?
Yes, him. And he was this was 2,000 years ago that it was written.
I just heard about this book.
Okay, yeah.
And it's a very interesting book. He's a very intelligent fella.
Did you hear about this from George Carlin by chance?
I did not. No.
Hardcore history? No. Okay.
No, I did not. But I think back when he was writing that, and when humans had no knowledge, well, the West had no knowledge of, the Americas and all this stuff. That's just how we are. We're just explorers, and we want to know everything, and we want to explore, and we want to move on, and we want to expand. And I think there's just something built inside our brains that makes us that way. So I don't think there's really any point of going to Mars. I just think that someone wants to be the first one on there.
Sure.
Someone just wants to do it. I think
to your point, we went to the moon within 60 years and we haven't been back.
Right.
Why not? Because there was no reason to.
Right.
There was a big reason for the first one to set foot there. But then after that, I was like, all right, nothing here. So let's,
not a whole lot going on here.
Spending resources to get here anymore. Now maybe we'll find something different with Mars. We've already put robots on Mars,
Yeah.
So
humans
maybe.
Let me ask you this, guys. you say there's no purpose. You don't think there's any purpose to going to Mars, but is there any purpose to going to any other planet at all, inhabiting any other planet at all? Say we somehow discover another one that's more inhabitable than Mars. Is there any purpose to that?
For sure.
Okay.
What if the Democrats keep winning? I mean, you don't want to live here?
I would agree.
Was that out loud?
No, that's all right. You can openly say it here. It's fine.
Our listeners are exclusively Democrats.
Listen, I'm a gun owning, damn near libertarian. So
perfect.
I would say
that's pretty much what we are here.
There's the reason why I'm not.
You're a terrorist now.
Yeah, I've heard that. Good. Yeah, you know what? Good on DeSantis for calling him out on that, and good on people for saying FBI, you're really messed up. And then they didn't have the smarts to wait a few weeks after that news came out. They didn't weren't even smart enough to wait a few weeks before they go and raid former President Trump's house in Mar-a-Lago.
Shit.
Right.
I mean, how dumb. I mean, like, it's just compounding for them. Compounding.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. I want to be like, all right, they're really doing what they're supposed to do. They really have some intelligence that say there's something nefarious going on. They're going to get a warrant. Some judge signed off on it in Florida, for it to happen.
All right.
And, but I tell you what, it does not look good.
I was talking about this with somebody today, and I almost guarantee they find some kind of bombshell evidence that they have to twist around.
Hold on. Bombshell.
Air quotes, bombshell evidence that they have to twist around that everyone's going to believe, but they're not going to actually reveal all of it to everybody. I almost guarantee that.
Even this hearing that they've been having, like, I don't even know. Is it even over yet?
This January 6th hearing?
Prime time.
I don't think anybody's watching.
No.
Nobody's
not
talking
anymore.
Nobody's talking about it. Not in the circles I run in. Nobody's saying a damn thing about it. It's not even news. It's not even something that anybody cares about.
No.
Like you want to tie it all to Trump. I get it. You do. But we, especially us libertarians, really believe that you are in charge of your own person. You make your own decisions. If somebody influenced you to do something, we're American, doggone it. Just because somebody told you to do something and you go do it, we don't arrest the person that told you to do it. We arrest you because you make your own decisions, right? That is a very American way of life and a very American culture. Like we don't punish your father because you committed a sin.
Right.
We don't punish you because your father committed a sin, or broke the law or whatever. It's just,
I mean, we try to do that these days.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Well, anyway, but the FBI first the witch hunt, which whatever, I don't care. They've been after Trump forever and a day. And personally, I hope that he doesn't run in 2024 because I do really hope that America can come together and be a united America under somebody else that's not so dividing,
Yeah.
But I sure hope that we don't keep on the track that we're on right now because that's worse. That would be worse. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Everything's good now. We passed the Inflation Reduction Act, so
they had to rename it. Did you see that?
Yeah, it has nothing to do with inflation now. It's like healthcare and
pumping $250 billion into the economy during mass inflation isn't good for curbing inflation. Weird. I thought it would be. Well, let's just rename the bill. We'll call it something else.
Yeah,
and $80 billion to the IRS.
Unbelievable.
To up audits and stuff. But back to raiding Trump, you notice they're all so focused on the past. That's all they're doing. They're going after, January 6th and Trump and anybody that was associated with that 2 years ago. Why is that?
It's certain
because they have absolutely nothing to show for when they're actually in power.
Yeah.
That's it.
You know what? That's a very good point. And I think it couples well with some of the allegations that they are deathly afraid of him running again in 2024.
Yeah.
They really, really are afraid of that. Now why? I'm not completely sure of the why, but it's got to be he's got some dirt on somebody that's a big deal, Because if you just disagree with somebody's policies, right? If you really think their policies are wrong, you're not really that scared of that. Right? Because policies are they will eventually wear themselves out. If they're good policies, they're good policies, and you were wrong. And then you say, okay, I guess I was wrong. These are good policies. If they're bad policies, 2 years from now, 4 years from now, it's going to be really evident to everybody, and they're going to get voted out of power, and you're not going to have to worry about it again, right? The whole tide is going to shift back to your side. So fear of losing control for a time is not something that career politicians normally get their panties in such a huge bunch over, to where they'll spend every bit of resource they have attacking somebody over it. You know what I mean? There's got to be something more than that. You know, more than just, we don't like him.
I feel like I would agree with that, except for the simple fact that I don't feel like Trump has enough self-control to hold on to something and not release it.
Yeah, good point.
At this point.
Good point.
Like,
yeah.
I think like he was trying everything in his power to, you know, and I was a Trump guy. Like, I still, I take issue with the fact of people saying that they're Trumpers or whatever, and they just blindly support him.
Sure.
I supported him for the fact of what he stood for. He stood for freedom, and that's the entire reason that. Yeah. Oh, some more, Haas?
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
That's the entire reason that he was elected.
Yeah.
But I feel like that if he had something on someone, he would have played that card. Don't you? Like, I mean, like you.
Maybe.
And maybe I'm wrong.
No, I would. If I was in that position, I would definitely do that. But I think there has to be buy-in from some of the other mainstream media conglomerates to push that story. You know what I mean? Like, the most fantastic story in the world, if it doesn't have enough publicity, it just dies. You know what I mean?
Hunter Biden.
We're stupid. We human beings are like, so have such a short attention spans and memories.
Right.
It just is amazing.
Box.
Like,
give him some ice.
We'll have something that is the biggest deal in the entire world that will change our lives one day, and if it's not right in front of our faces the next day, we're on to the next thing.
Yeah.
You know. And if you burn the bridge, if you play every card you got at the wrong time, and you don't have the publicity behind you to do it, then you got nothing left.
Yeah.
You've spent every bit of nitrous you got in the tank. So I don't know that that's the case. I really don't. I'm just saying.
And it's very plausible.
There may be some more to it. There may not be some more to it. I don't know. Maybe he's got nothing. Maybe they just don't like him that much because he's an asshole. You know?
Yeah.
Because he is. He is.
Right.
But
what are the chances? I would almost bet money that something from this raid, or something that happens in the very near future in the next couple of months or whatever, comes up before 2024, the election, if Trump runs, or after he announces that he's running. It's going to be immediately announced that something comes from this raid.
I really am hoping. I'm not hoping. I'm really interested to see what they found in this raid, or what they were actually looking for. So the story that I heard was classified documents that he was not supposed to take with him when he left the White House. And there were certain, and the way that the FBI found out about this is that Trump was asked to return a whole bunch of documentation and correspondence and logs and things like that from the White House, from his presidency, that were supposed to go to this archive, not personal property of the president, of the former president, but go to this archive. And when he did that, when he returned a bunch of this stuff, they found classified documents intermingled in this big group of other stuff. Okay. And so that led them to believe that he had some other classified documents that he had not turned back in. So what kind of stuff that is, I don't know, but it seems quite trivial when you look at the number of elected politicians that have violated classified documentation rules and protocols in the past. To go after somebody like that seems very, very above and beyond, normal, what would normally happen.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong. as a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force, if somebody found out that I had violated, some security protocol and I had classified documentation unprotected, I would be in jail. There would be no question about it,
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
certainly my other lieutenant colonels and above, anybody, no rank aside, that has done that has either served time or have gotten in a lot of trouble, at minimum lost their careers over the deal. But for some reason, our elected politicians who are privy to that same information and are supposed to protect it the same way that we under oath are supposed to, they get a free pass for some reason.
Yeah.
They get away with it.
And that's so irritating.
It is.
And
because you know what? The Chinese aren't trying to break into my house and steal stuff. They're not trying to infiltrate into my life or become my girlfriend. They're going after the politicians.
Eric Swalwell.
Because they know that it's way easier to get the information.
Dude is sleeping with a fucking Chinese spy.
I forgot about that.
Nothing happened
and he's
to him.
still in office.
And he's still on.
Can you even believe that?
And he's still on those councils or whatever it is,
Yeah.
But here's the thing though. Here's the problem. Like, say tomorrow it does come out that Trump had classified documents.
Yeah.
Well, what's going to happen?
Well,
everybody on Trump's side is going to, well, that's no big deal. That's no big deal.
Or they're going to say it was planted.
Possibly.
Yeah.
But and my point is, though, like, everybody on Hillary's side, when that happened, like, she had thousands of all this classified information on her private servers, unprotected. Like,
the hypocrisy we will get a firsthand look at yet again.
Right.
Yet again.
And herein lies the problem. When our side, and I say our side loosely, does shit, well, what about their side? And we make excuses, and we make fucking excuses constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And then when their side does it, the same freaking thing happens.
Yeah.
And it's like we ignore the discrepancies and the failures of our side to throw, shade on them when the same shit happens.
I completely agree. And I don't think we should. I really don't think we should.
It's frustrating.
Yep.
Like at a certain point, we're going to have to hold everyone accountable for the bullshit that they pull.
Yeah, we should. We should from day one. There shouldn't be a question.
I don't think that's possible, though.
Yeah. I don't think it is either.
It's not human nature.
It is.
No.
Some people are going to take sides no matter what.
Yeah. And there's a certain individual on my Facebook that
we brought him up several times on this podcast,
and he sees completely 180 degrees different than me.
Sure.
And we bicker back and forth, we argue, but I leave him on I don't delete him because I feel like social media is half of the problem. We tailor our newsfeed to only see the shit that we like.
Yep, that's very true.
So I leave him on there so I get exposed to the other side, and we despise each other, but at least we can see the other side. But he like so many times, like he talks about January 6th still, and this was 2 fucking years ago. It's like, move on with your life, man. But he has yet to acknowledge the fact that look what happened during the riots that were going on for a year, burning down American businesses, looting American businesses,
going into federal buildings and taking them over.
Yes,
like
absolutely.
Under siege, right?
Portland.
This is
look at Portland.
This is a different federal building.
That's not important. That's not important.
Yeah.
But he has yet to acknowledge the fact that, gee, maybe there was a reason for the only thing I'll say about January 6th is Congress had fucked over Americans for years and years and years and years. And finally people went after the people that were pissing them off.
Right.
Instead of the random American businesses that never did a goddamn thing to you.
That's a great point. And unfortunately that Congress has the weight of the U.S., military and law enforcement behind it to protect itself and to twist the narrative however they want.
Exactly.
Whereas your small business doesn't. And that's sad. It's not right. It's not right, but it's life. That is the way it is. But I completely agree with you in that respect because it's not fair, that's the way it would go down. Because Congress has been doing both sides, both Republicans and Democrats
100%.
have been spending money they don't have on things that most people don't care about,
gender studies in Pakistan,
special interest shit, this whole COVID thing, if the lid ever gets blown off of this with how that was funded in China, like how we're funding research in China
Right.
is just so sad. It's so sad to think that we're funding any research in China, let alone one for a virus that turned around and bit us in the ass so bad, right?
It's pretty much, hasn't it pretty much been proven right now that this was a man-made thing and partly because of American funding?
Yeah.
There's pretty strong evidence.
Yeah, I know there's been a lot of talk about that, and Ted Cruz questioning people in Senate about it and stuff.
Yeah.
And of course, the mainstreams don't want to come out and support that theory, right?
Right.
Because they were so busy supporting the fact that we had to do everything like wear masks and get vaccinated, and both turned out to be dumb. Not effective against the virus. They've just been wrong on every single level of this thing, to the point where they can't turn around and correct the story anymore, or even go back and side with something that would just make them look even worse. Which I don't know how you can get any worse. CNN's ratings are about as good as my ratings.
Yeah.
When I walk outside this morning and yell at my neighbors.
Yeah, I think they hit rock like lowest in history. I think I saw the other day.
Yeah.
When you start a streaming service and then you start charging for it, but then you have to start giving it away, and then you just close it because nobody even wants it for free.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty bad. When you're the number one news source in the world, or it used to be, and now you can't even give your product away.
Well, somebody mentioned to me that they had been bought out recently as well, and they're not quite as terrible as they have been recently.
CNN did get bought out
slowly getting better.
Yeah. CNN did get bought out by someone. I can't remember exactly who it was, but he did want to make it a little bit more, move them a little bit
less
more
total garbage
towards the center. I don't know if that's ever going to happen.
What do you guys think of this Project Veritas thing? Like, fake or real?
I think it's real.
I don't know much about them, to be honest.
I think it's very real. But then again, I'm a biased individual, so it's hard to judge.
The undercover stuff that they do. Do you think they're targeting or just finding by mass? Do an undercover interview with 1,000 people, and eventually you're going to find somebody that says what you want to hear and publicize, right?
Right.
Or do you think that it's really, no kidding, there's some nefarious shit going on out there, like in the news networks with COVID, with a lot of stuff that is being twisted and turned, and then the product is being put out to America to consume in a way that's, tainted.
It's probably a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Both.
I will preface this by saying I am biased.
Yeah.
I have my thinking that most of this stuff was bullshit. So when I see a project like this that supports my beliefs, I have a tendency to believe it, obviously. But that being said, I feel like it's some legit shit. I don't know how they're doing it. I don't know how they're, you would think that after so many of these videos came out,
people would stop talking.
Maybe I should shut my fucking face,
right,
and not give these people. But I don't know how they're doing it, but it's working. But I do feel like I feel like it's legit. And the thing that really irritates me the most is Kamala Harris, our current vice president, used to be the attorney general for California.
Hard on crime.
Yeah.
So to speak.
Yeah. And she was the attorney general for California when those Planned Parenthood videos came out that essentially proved that Planned Parenthood was doing some really f***ed up shit in California, selling body parts, so on and so forth. Huh. And guess what happened? They said, proved that they're breaking the law. Well, those Planned Parenthood never got in trouble for that. Who got in trouble for that? The people that made those videos. They got felonies, all sorts of shit against them, and all these lawsuits, and they're actually in a load of trouble because they exposed corruption.
Really?
Yep. They went after them for recording secretly people, without their consent and all this stuff, even though it proved that they were breaking the law, and even though that the government does that to American citizens.
All the time.
Citizens
all the time.
Can't do that to other citizens.
Well, we do it to each other. Everybody's got a cell phone. Everybody's got a video
right
now.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's I will, like I said before, I'm biased, but I do think that all that shit is legit.
I think that they just substantiated what we all already knew.
Oh yeah,
about Twitter from when Trump was in office.
Mm-hmm.
So they got credibility right away in my mind, because
Right.
I already knew it. I already knew Twitter was censoring Trump's stuff. I mean, for
Yeah,
Pete's
don't
sake,
take
at
a
the end,
friggin'
they
rocket
kicked them out.
science.
You know, I mean, everybody can see that with their plain eyes. They don't need to undercover camera to talk to an executive and say, "Oh yeah,
Right.
we had a campaign against that. If anything was conservative, if anything was promoting like Republican views or whatever, we tried to put it in a box and hide it away. We didn't want anybody to see it, right?"
Yeah.
Well, of course we knew that. Everybody knew that already, right?
Yep.
So then when they branch out and they start looking at other things, it brings in credibility, because they already did that with the first, story that they did, or with the first several stories that they did.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think the guy is, I think the guy's onto something. I hope he keeps going, and I hope it happens on both sides. I hope that there's
absolutely.
a Project Veritas that does the same thing. If there's corrupt Republicans that are doing the same stuff, I hope it does the same thing to get to them.
We were just talking about Russell Brand last week,
Mm-hmm.
and the guy's generally he's pretty far left, but he has a massive YouTube. I think he's got around 6 million subscribers or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But he hammers on the corruption and the bullshit of the liberals right now because they're in power.
Yep.
I wouldn't say that. I would say the corruption of the government.
Right. Yeah, you're correct there. But he's not, and I'm sure when it turns around and the next election cycle comes and the Republicans take power, guess what? He'll do the same freaking thing to them. But I feel like that's important, and that's the way that we should be. Mm-hmm. That's the way that everybody should be.
Absolutely.
Non-biased, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Vote the issues, not the party. Vote the person, not the,
mm-hmm.
your agenda that you think, he just might fit into that better than the other guy.
Yeah.
We've gotten to this cycle in America where so often, almost every election now in my adult life, I feel like I'm voting for the lesser of two evils.
Yep.
And I hate that. I hate that.
Sucks.
And it's always a single issue vote as well, too, for almost everyone. They don't care about all the other shit. There's one important issue in there that this candidate stands for, that they're going to be like, I'm voting him for this reason.
For the middle of the road people.
Yeah.
But for somebody that's Republican or somebody that's Democrat,
you're right.
It's really hard to get them to cross the stream. They might really disagree with one thing that their party is doing,
Mm-hmm.
or two things their party is doing. I mean, for Pete's sakes, I was in the middle of South Dakota back when Obama was up for election against Bush, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And people were. It took so much for people to cross over to vote Democrat than Republican, and that big thing was the war. They really, really felt like weapons of mass destruction was a hoax. They really felt like we should never have went to Iraq, and it took a huge catalyst to get them to move over, because they disagreed with the Democrats on gay marriage. They disagreed with them on their social, a lot of other social issues that they pressed.
Mm-hmm.
Their fiscal policy, all that kind of stuff. But they still did. They still voted for Obama because of that. But again, they voted against a lot of the issues they felt were right because of this one huge thing that made sway.
Yeah, and I feel like that's why. I hate to bring this up, but I feel like if you believe that the last election was completely legit, I feel like that's why it went that way. That so many people were just, I don't like Trump, so I'm going to vote for him. Mm-hmm. And frankly, I don't feel like that whole election was legit. That's neither here nor there. We don't need to go down that road. But
2,000 Mules, you seen that documentary? Have you watched it yet?
I have not watched it, for the simple fact that I know that all it will do would piss me off and raise my blood pressure, because I already feel that way. So, but the same lies in this upcoming election in November. I've talked to so many people that were like, "Yeah, I voted for Biden, but wow, this is a shit show." Yeah. You guys were completely right. Yes, we told you this is how it was going to go, and this is the exact way that we said. But so I feel like it's gonna flip again, and that's common. Generally after an election in the midterms, the president loses. loses traction or loses some in the House and the Senate. That's common.
Yep.
I feel like he's going to get lambasted, but I also feel like everybody coming up to this November election is going to be voting on two issues.
Yep.
The left is going to be voting on abortion. The right's going to be voting on gun rights, and that's it, because of the assault weapons ban that was just passed in the House. That's my version of it, the way that I see it happening, but I guarantee you that that's all you hear from the left from now until November is abortion issues.
Yeah. I think those are really, really important issues for some people.
Right.
But I don't think those are going to be as key in this election as people's pocketbooks.
Yeah.
I
would agree with that.
I really think that people will always vote themselves, vote their money. They're going to vote their money.
Mm-hmm.
It takes such a tremendous amount of convincing for a normal person to say, yeah, take another 5% of my income for this Green New Deal. The climate is worth it. I'm willing to part with 10%. I'm willing to part with 15%. What's the percent of income you're willing to get for it? Whatever it is, I'll take it. You know, like it's hard for people to get over that when the expendable income is gone. We talked about this, the expendable income, right? Like when I don't go out, when I don't have to spend money when I don't spend money on a steak at a restaurant, then I have 3 times that amount of money to eat a steak at home, and the other 2/3 I can spend on whatever I want.
Yep.
You know, so I'm going to get a gun Cerakoted. I'm going to do whatever, you know? Yep. When that money is gone, those luxuries disappear. I'm not happy because I got used to them. I got used to those luxuries. I got used to having an extra, a couple $100 in the bank every month and getting a little savings going on. And now when I fill up my truck or my car and the thing clicks off because I can make it to $75 and the tank isn't even full yet.
Yep.
That pisses me off. Right. And then I start listening to the fact that a pipeline was shut down, that an oil refinery was shut down. I listen to that stuff a little bit more. Not that Trump's energy policy was all that much better than Biden's, but it sure was. It was. Okay. It wasn't perfect by no means, but it was better.
America first, at least.
At least it created energy independence and was looking for, to sustain what we had, and we should have sustained while we continue to develop, greener energies and things like that. Anyway, I think people are going to vote their pocketbook. And when groceries and inflation hit and they are not able to afford and I don't know of a lot of people that can't afford groceries right now. I know there are some. There's plenty out there. Personally, I don't know any. But I do know people that are now not affording the extras that they were able to, even a year ago. So are they happy about that? No, they're not. So, and there are people out there that are starving. There are people out there that can't afford the basics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're probably still walking around with an iPhone in their pocket, which is a whole nother argument that
exactly.
I don't necessarily agree with. But the fact is, unrest in that area of life, I think, is going to be the top topic in people's minds when they vote. So who they pin that on is the way they're gonna vote.
I don't know if I agree. I can definitely see where you're coming from, but I don't know if people will vote for their pocketbook. Because the Democrats are experts at that, saying, well, we're just going to take a little bit more from you here, but it's going to pay off in the long run. You're going to get this back in this way. And people are super gullible, and they believe that shit. So I don't know if that's true. They can be, Democrats can be like, we're going to raise your taxes 90%, but you're going to get it back after like 45 years, and the Democrats are going to be like, well, it's for the greater good, so sure.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
What do you think about the in schools, critical race theory, gender identity, education, all that kind of stuff? How do you think that's going to play into it? Because in Virginia, I think it did. I really think that Glenn Youngkin won because of that. In a Democrat state, in a Democrat environment where they have been had a stronghold there since 50 years or something like that. Since since the Democrat was the party that owned slaves. Since then,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they were Democrat was the slave party back,
right
in the 30s. So anyway, I think that shifted the tides in that state at least.
I would agree
to get a Republican governor elected. I don't know if that's still going to be as big of a deal in November, but
I think
it was for them.
I think I agree with you. I agree with you, and I think there are so many people willing to ignore that though,
because they don't have kids in school.
Because for several reasons. One, maybe a few of them because they don't have kids in school, but because they see the majority of society going towards that way, racist thinking and as far as critical race theory and people moving towards more social, what do they call it? Social justice theories and things like that. They see more people, the society heading that way, so they're more likely to put up with it, even if it means that their kids are going to be inundated with that bullshit. So I think the right, more people are I think we're just being more split, honestly. Yeah. I think there's far fewer people are in the middle and far more people going to one side or the other. And that's super unfortunate because, and you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast or quite a while back that you hope Trump doesn't run. And I do too. I hope he doesn't run and that we could be united under someone. But I think, unfortunately, the simple fact is that we're way too divided that we won't be united under anyone. Mm-hmm. And that sucks. It sucks. I wish we fucking were, but I don't think there's anybody in the middle that could win. And I don't think there's anybody in the middle that will run.
Yeah. Like in 2020, I was in Kandahar, Afghanistan, right? Mm-hmm. And I was talking to an Afghani who was on base there, and a lot of these issues were happening. The Black Lives Matter thing was going on. COVID was hot and heavy, and he said, "Americans, they've got it so good they have to find something to be upset about."
Yep.
And
right.
It's so true, right? Like we will get super passionate about the minuscule shit and put ourselves on the opposite side of a brother or a cousin or a friend or whatever, and then now the frickin' wall is up and we are not crossing it,
I just I 100% agree with that. I was just talking to one of my best friends. He moved down to back to Florida. I met him in Kansas City, and I still call him up occasionally, but I was just talking to him the other day, and the reason he moved from Kansas City is he had this massive, awesome community in Kansas City. He was a religious fellow, and they had this church, amazing church, and, they get together all the time, and then the BLM riots hit and all this bullshit, and he was having a get-together at his house, and basically they got into a big ass argument about like BLM was shutting down highways and all this bullshit, and Chad basically said that he didn't agree with that, and that was it. All of a sudden he was labeled a racist and because because he didn't agree with him.
Yeah.
And I think that's like one of the biggest freaking issues we have in America right now is you can fucking disagree with someone and still be civil to them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Some of my best friends in the world disagree with me on issues. My best friend in the entire world is a fucking Democrat, and he was for years. I think he's slowly switching his sides. But guess what? We'd have conversations about it, and we'd be civil to each other. We never once yelled at each other.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to call bullshit on that one.
Oh, you seen it? You seen this happen?
Definitely get drunk in the garage and scream at each other.
Well, maybe. But we were always civil to one another. We never hated each other.
Yeah.
Like, maybe we'd yell at each other, but 5 minutes later, we'd be drinking a beer and be fine.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. But now it's turned into this, and especially in this latest, the whole Roe versus Wade situation, there were so many people posting on Facebook, if you disagree with me on this, fuck you, we can't be friends. It's like, excuse me? Like, that's how we're going to fix this situation? Like, no.
Are you that? Are you planning on having an abortion? Are you that are you that passionate about it?
Right.
You will lose friends over this?
Right.
Like
and,
opinion?
And unfortunately, it's the same on our side too. Like I've seen people do the same fucking thing, you know, and I may disagree with you vehemently. Hell, I disagree with my own girlfriend on many issues. Yeah. We see different ways, but guess what? Life goes on. We're civil to one another.
Sam has a girlfriend?
Shockingly, yeah. I haven't met her yet, but it's been going on like 9 years.
Shut up.
Nobody with a haircut like that.
Hey, I got a haircut at 11 o'clock tomorrow.
Oh, here we go. Here we
By
go.
his girl-friend.
Yeah, I'm sure. Same girl. Same girl's gonna cut his hair. We're gonna see him next day. It's gonna be perfectly the same as it was.
Exactly.
Yeah, my girlfriend gave me a haircut.
Yeah, she took a half-inch off. Can't you tell?
See this? Give me some highlights and stuff.
But
no, you're right though. You're right. Yeah, I do agree that we are so. We get really wound up about a lot of stuff, you know, which goes back to our alien conversation. You know, it's a big, big universe out there. Maybe your issues aren't as big as you think they are. Maybe I always said this. It's the funniest thing. It's a good analogy. So I went to South Dakota State University, right? I was from Iowa, but I went to SDSU. Loved it. Great college, but got there and there was automatically clearly a divide between West River and East River.
Oh, that goddamn river.
Oh, boy.
Gets you every time.
Oh, boy. That Missouri River was everything to them kids. I tell you what.
Really?
If you were from East River, you were a yuppie, you know, urbanite and didn't know how to work and all this kind of stuff. And West River, you were some kind of hick that lived out in the sticks on 10 miles of gravel and you never seen, you know, neon lights in your life and whatnot. And I'm going to school and I'm just looking at both sides and going, dudes, you guys all know you're from South Dakota, right? You got like 800,000 people in the whole state. You better get together. You might want to get on the same side because there's not enough of you, you know, to divide yourselves. And, who knows?
That was the same way with growing up, like between Kingsley and Mobile when I was in high school, or you know, the river. We called them the river rats. My girlfriend is a river rat. You know,
You're dating a river rat.
I know, right? But it's just like you. Once you get a little bit of life experience, you realize that shit is just minuscule and does not fucking matter in the grand scheme of literally anything. You know, and it's. I just wish people would figure that out now instead of so freaking late. I don't know.
Yeah, I hear you.
Box, you look like you're going to say something. Are you just staring off at the floor?
I'm not looking at the floor. I'm looking above the camera.
Oh, okay.
I'm not really looking at anything. I'm just kind of.
He had the same look on his face. He says when he's like. This I can always usually tell when Box is going to say something important because he gets this look on his face. But apparently,
I have important things to say.
Sometimes,
oh.
I enjoy your input occasionally. Other times, not so much.
No, I was just thinking about racism and whether or not I should bring it up.
Well, I mean, hell, we brought up every other subject tonight. Might as well. What's your?
It's along the same lines. Like, it really came into my mind the other day. I saw something. I mean, you see it all the time on social media posts. Something about a person of color and somebody white disagrees. And it has nothing to do with that person's color or anything.
Right.
And somebody will immediately jump on, sounds pretty white to me. What did he say that had anything to do with the person's color at all? Nothing at all, but you had to throw all this fucking race into it. Because he's white, he can't disagree because that person was colored.
It's almost always, the person saying that is almost always white too. Like, it blows my mind.
Right?
Yeah.
No shit.
I understand
or
that.
the news articles that say somebody tried to murder somebody and got shot by another person. If the guy that got shot was black and the guy that shot him was white,
they put it in there.
White person shoots black, you know, okay, what does that have to do with anything?
Yeah.
That has absolutely nothing to do with anything of the conversation, you know, and that's, but it's all about freaking clicks and money. The more people that click on that article because, it was racially charged, guess what? They're getting more freaking money for it and they're going to sure as hell say it, you know.
I think more people need to do that is follow the money. That everything is financially motivated these days. Right. Absolutely everything.
A lot of it.
The media, politics, everything.
I would agree.
And nobody realizes that. They're like, we're just being manipulated.
100%. Does anybody know what time it is?
Like 9:30, 9:45. I don't know.
Yeah.
You got the time over there?
Yeah, 9:46.
Your wife calling you to get home? Get your fucking ass here.
Well, I gotta go get the. Oh, she already went and got the 7-year-old. So.
Oh. Well, it was a good episode though. We probably should call it quits.
It's fun. It's good. You guys got a good show here. I love the conversation. I love the.
I mean, not all of them are this good. Most of them are garbage.
Yeah. Is that right? I've listened to a few of them that were good.
This is probably one of my favorite episodes we've had.
It's been a good one.
I've enjoyed it thoroughly. But
good.
We probably should call it quits. So Scott, thanks for being on. I greatly appreciate it. And
anytime. Come back anytime. You guys are great. See you guys around town. Golf league on Thursday night. We'll see you there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be there.
And got Sam in the fire department. We'll have the meeting tomorrow night. So.
I'm not sure if I'll be there or not.
Yeah.
Dude, August is freaking insane.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll make it or not, but
no problem. Hey, it's a volunteer force. You there when you can be there, and when you got something else, you got something else. That's the way it is.
Yeah. Box, any final thoughts or?
You want to shot a wild turkey before you leave?
Oh no.
Good.
I don't either.
I really don't.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks guys for sticking around. Make sure you check out our sponsors, Ballistic Imagery at ballisticimagery.com, as well as on his Facebook, and Shyworks at shyworks.com, as well as on Facebook and Twitter. So guys, we'll be back in 2 weeks. Thanks for sticking around. If you enjoy what we heard, make sure you check out our website, lifeshortlivefree.com, our Facebook, and go and tell us if you want to hear certain subjects or if you enjoyed the podcast, whatever. But yeah, like I said, we'll be back in 2 weeks. So we talk to then. Remember, life short, live free. God bless. God bless the United States of America.
Defund the ATF.
Repeal the NFA. Grow food. Become ungovernable.
I think the FBI is going to do it.
100%.
Yeah.